All right. Well, as you guys have maybe seen already, the doctors and lawyers are at it again. They're not happy, and who can blame them? They're unappreciated. They do everything for our society and get nothing back. They put all this time into learning very valuable trades, sacrificing lots of money, paying their own way. And what do they get back for it? Whitey on their back. Whitey kneeling right on their neck. And it's a sad situation. Oh, wait, no, it's not doctors and lawyers. It's a parasitic group of biological weapons in humanoid form that have decided to be like a plague of locusts and bring upon the end of the world in every nation, because we have achieved the Tower of Babel, and we've turned into a giant conglomerate, and nothing means nothing. Nothing means nothing, to quote the great Randy Savage. And so I thought I'd start out with some repeating patterns. And I only watched a little bit of this at the very beginning, and I noticed something. I noticed something right away because I know a little bit about this country. And I'll point this out to you. God, I miss soundtracks like that for this stuff.
Rhodesia, 1971. The troops rehearsed their drill for the funeral of 3 of their comrades, blown up by a landmine laid by black nationalists.
Right, get your rifle down to the position of the rest on your arms reverse once again. The right leg is then bent so the thighs parallel the ground, and you resume the correct position of the present. Are there any questions? Right, watch the squad now. Look down, brace up.
The 3 men died near Rhodesia's border with Mozambique. 9 months compulsory national service is part of the growing up of every young white male in Rhodesia. For, as the government will tell you, this is a country at war, threatened by black governments to the north, attacked by economic sanctions, coping with a fresh outbreak of militant black protest against Ian Smith's government.
Right! On the word of command, squad 3, the rifle is rotated in an anti-clockwise direction, right hand controlling the rifle.
All right, I would have been confused by that.
Under the eyes...
All right, this is what I wanted to show you. All right, see this statue right here? You should see what this statue looks like today and what all of this looks like. It's not what it used to look like, that's for sure.
Of Cecil Rhodes' statue in the heart of Salisbury, there have been demonstrations by young black Rhodesians anxious to bring their dissatisfaction to the attention of the British negotiators as they talked with Ian Smith's representatives. They marched and scores were arrested. 82 were sentenced each to 6 cuts of the cane.
It's wishful thinking for it to expect Smith to reason. The only way for Smith to reason is to use violence. That is violence in the valley. And we are prepared to fight. The Africans, we will do it, since the British government has refused to use violence.
And the main reason why the African people, especially the youth, can now resort to violence, because they are not allowed a word, not a word in politics. If I say anything against the government, I'll be behind the bars the next day. There are informers in every square mile of the country.
Do you not fear an informer in this group now?
I was watching another thing on Rhodesia the other day, and I noticed one thing, that they had like a nice comedy lounge bar, and the guy that was performing, they specifically said the guy that was narrating this and the guy that was performing was a a black guy also, and their thing that they wouldn't allow was black Africans, but they would let UK Brits in. It's kind of interesting that that's not really like explained. It's just I think that's an important detail, and it just kind of, I don't know, it explains a lot about what was going on there.
Maybe, I don't care. At this moment, I don't care if there is an informer. Maybe tomorrow I will be behind the bars, and I don't mind.
And also, he's talking about informants. We just went through this with COVID. I'm actually in a situation right now where in my personal life, it's funny that the same people that'll rat on you for certain things and sell you out to the government, it's always the same phenotype. And I was explaining to my coworker who's kind of getting slowly red-pilled into, I'm kind of guiding him through a lot of things that he didn't know about, and he's very shocked to find out that may be common knowledge to people that are watching this right now, but he's in his 50s, and he's having his mind blown, and everyone at work always notices that I'm kind of standoffish, and a lot of people think I'm a kind of a dick sometimes because I don't go out to go make friends. I don't want to go hang out with you, and that's because I was raised by a German grandma who was from the Eastern Bloc, and my other side is pretty much pure Finn. And those two cultures were occupied by the communists and a lot of people that would sell you out. And it's kind of ingrained in my kind of DNA and culture to not really respond to being outgoing and social. It's kind of a protection mechanism. I know I've heard Michael Malice talk about this, where people don't really understand what it's like to grow up in that environment. My grandmother, that woman was a tough bitch, but the more and more that I grow up, the more I appreciate the severity of punishments that I went through as a child and the learn for respecting elders and doing the right thing and not being a pussy, pushing through things. This will probably get a lot of people pissed off at me, but when Vivek and all these people complain about Americans being weak, or lazy, I tend to agree with them a lot of times. We are being fucked with by these H-1B visas, but at the same time, people like to complain about, oh, it's the Jews and the Jews. Yeah, I completely agree, but at the same time, who let them in? Who let these people in to control you? And you got complacent. It's that saying that everybody constantly repeats, the good times make weak men make hard times, and the cycle continues. And we're kind of going through that. I'm not some fucking, ultra alpha male, but I also think that, my goal in life is generally to make myself into a weapon. And by weapon, I mean being a tool of a man that's able to be prepared for any situation. It doesn't mean that I've, gone through every tier list of skills, and maxed out my points. But that's my goal. I find it very odd when someone thinks that it's really important to go and max out one skill or just a couple. My whole thing in life is to spread my knowledge to other people and also broaden my own horizons. I don't pretend to be an expert in things, but I do. That's why I have this channel, is I'm trying to collaborate with people, share ideas, and help people kind of take back their country. It's not necessarily any kind of ethnic thing. It's not anything like white pride. I fully like some of the best people. I've talked about him, Abraham, the guy from Sudan that I used to tutor. He was so much smarter on this shit than I was. Like I used to think he was just a homophobic or sexist, but he was like a true like man's man, and he fucking went through he's from a civil war in Africa, and it taught me a lot about like how bad things can get, and people will bitch and moan about that, but it's what it is. Like, I'm not gonna just ally with somebody because they're white. Look at what happened to fucking Germany. They convinced all the Europeans to go kill each other. So can you really just go blindly trust your own race? You have to build a small little like castle, a kingdom. That's what I'm after, is building my own little kingdom. I don't want to like just blindly follow people. Like, for instance, like I've been watching a lot of Nick Fuentes lately, and he's right. He's very smart. He's right about a lot of things, but would you follow him into battle? Would you make him a leader? Or these people that like fully endorse like National Socialism? It's like, you understand that we are kind of in a crypto-fascist way, like living under crypto-fascism, where it's the government does all the things that it can't do through corporations. The only way to go and do that, like to survive, is like go through a fucking like free market, basically like the anarchist mindset. So that's my fucking take. You can get pissed off all you want, but that's the way I see this going to be a solution.
I am prepared to make such sacrifices, and even greater sacrifices, for the freedom of the country.
These boys talked to me in May at St. Ignatius College just outside Salisbury. 4 of them are now behind bars. Last month, the school was raided twice. The police came with guns, dogs and tear gas. 23 arrests were made. The police were stoned. A Land Rover was turned over. Today, 18 days after their arrest, no charges have been made against the 4 boys still in custody.
Now we're going to divide a minus 3 into 2a to the power 4 minus 5a cubed minus 10a plus 3. Would you do it for me, please, Wanda?
St. Ignatius College is a secondary school founded by the Jesuits 9 years ago. These boys are aged between 15 and 19. They're among the elite of Rhodesia's young Africans, for only 180 black children reach the 6th form in any year, 1 in every 600.
Or you could say 3 and 5.
The scarcity of secondary education, the lack of political opportunity, the difficulty they'll face in getting a job, all these lie at the root of the young Africans' frustration. The school's principal, Father Davis.
The difficulty is the kind of law that we're getting now, like the Land Tenure Act and the Housing Act, which is leading in only one direction, to my mind.
And what is that direction?
Well, it's leading to a sort of segregation of 2 races instead of making one country.
Apartheid in the South African mould?
I'm not quite sure whether I would go as far as to say that. I'm not quite sure whether I would understand, because I don't know anything much about South Africa, strangely enough. But certainly 2 distinct races. That's what it seems to be aiming at and going towards.
And how do you feel about that?
Oh, I think it's a bad thing. This is one country. It should be a great country. And merit should be the reason why people go ahead and so on. Merit only.
How do you feel when you see a 16-year-old African, well-educated, bright, leaving school and unable to get a job?
Is fed up all right to say on a television interview? Yes, very much so.
If a black child and a white child emerged from school with similar qualifications, which would find it the most easy to get a job?
Certainly the white men. And to prove that, some gentlemen from Salisbury, were obviously supporters of the Smith government, came here and we asked them the same question. why that white men find it easier to find jobs. And obviously they said, just imagine if you had a brother and you were the manager of some company. If your brother and somebody else came, which one would you pick? And obviously the answer was my brother.
Things are quite bad in the country at the moment, but I think there's a growing tendency among the white children of our age to realize the hardships the African is facing. And I think this is also the case in South Africa. You've only got to consider what's been happening at the South African universities and to realize that the younger generation at any rate is realizing what the African...
Do you know how, like, I would kill to have people like if this was what our black demographic was here, we wouldn't even have these problems. You know, like, this guy is more well-spoken than probably 70% of the people that I interact with on a daily basis. And this guy is straight from when they call it the dark continent, it's because of this guy.
...to put up to. And even though they can't do much about it, they're trying their hardest. Well, I'm speaking from experience because I've had the opportunity to learn with white boys, and admittedly they tended to come from the upper class, but I think they were fairly representative of the young white children in the country. It's only the parents, and this gap between parents and children is widening, but the young white kids are, making, are trying their hardest anyway to try and lessen the gap.
Do you see hope in this situation?
Yes, I think it's a hopeful sign. I mean, in terms of years, I don't think we can say that conditions will change in 5 years, but I think gradually the voice of the present generation anyway will not be neglected.
Is there ever going to be black majority rule in this country?
Certainly there will be, if we Africans strive long enough. But the trouble is we can't. We're ever suppressed. Each time we try to speak against the government, you might find that you're in trouble within a matter of seconds, which is rather too bad. I mean, they should accept opposition. Since they're in power, they should always accept opposition from anybody.
Do you think they're foolish not to?
Yeah, that's true. That's true enough.
Do you think then that if they do not accept some form of realistic opposition, hearing realistically the African voice, there is bound to be a violent end to all this?
There's bound to be chaos, that's all.
That's one of the things that, like, my overall frustration with the black community here is that I know that you're not trying. And I think that's my German grandmother coming out in me, is that, like, the utter frustration of knowing that you're just not doing it because you're lazy, because it's uncomfortable, and you're just fine with being, like, just nothing, just being a problem and slacking. And, I get that there's an idea that, okay, there's not, like, you don't have much hope or that, but the main thing that I got out of going towards Christianity, and one of the things that I, oddly enough, learned from a black guy, Jesse Lee Peterson, is just, like, complete and utter responsibility. No matter what happened to you, you could be in the worst situation where you are truly a victim. But what are you going to do now about it? Are you going to sit there and wallow? And, like, that's the major fucking problem with these communities, is just, like, they've convinced themselves that you're such a victim that this is, like, you can't continue life unless things are being, like, made right for you, instead of just being like, why don't you just start your own shit? Like, if you hate Whitey so much, just go move on. You don't need, it's like, just break up with that girlfriend of Whitey and just move on into a shitty apartment, get your divorce like a real man, eat ramen noodles and fucking just Kool-Aid or whatever the fuck it is, just some flavored fucking water, and just grin and bear it. And you'll appreciate those days when you look back when you lived in that shitty apartment and your neighbors were getting raided by the fucking ATF or the cops. And, you know, you realize, yeah, I survived through that. And then you can pass on that story to your kid, and your kid's going to be like, man, my dad's so cool. He fucking went through all of that, and he survived, and like, that means I can do it, and I can be proud that my dad fucking started from nothing.
All I can say, especially if the African is going to be educated enough.
In a way, then, it's in the Europeans' best interests not to educate the African.
That's quite true.
One thing that must be made clear to the British government is that the African people in this country are not at all worried about what political ideology they follow. If communism is going to bring them freedom, they will accept that ideology. And for that matter, I can assure you that Western democracy and civilization is really losing popularity in the country.
This, of course, might be turned
So
by...
if the British government and the British people still want some friendship with the African people in this country, they must see that they satisfy him by helping to give him freedom. They must force the Smith government.
This, of course, might be said by Mr. Smith to be complete justification for keeping the African nationalists behind bars.
What cause?
What you just said.
And it is only the only way possible now for us to gain freedom, because all the other ways have failed. Talks, they failed. You can't reason with the Smith government.
Is that?
It's crazy too. When I was a little kid, probably in like, I don't know, like second or third grade, our geography teacher was also our history teacher. And every week we would have to memorize all the countries in a continent. And obviously Africa was the fucking hardest. And I remember, and it still fucks with me today, because like I knew every single country, and then fucking I always remembered it as Zaire, Zambia, Zimbabwe. And then like now hardly any of these fucking countries exist. The fucking Congo is now Democratic Republic of Congo. Like none of this shit. It's insane. Like I grew up with fucking same thing with Yugoslavia. Like I can't remember any of those fucking goddamn Slavic or Baltic states, and these people just fuck things up and just let these fucking like outsiders, you know, and they're talking about communism coming in there. They're just loan sharks destroying your country.
They just don't accept to reason. They don't. So why are we going to waste our time talking with them? If they want to talk with us, they have people in the parliament, the chiefs whom they choose. Those people are uneducated, most of them. What do they talk with them? Their speeches are made for them, and they speak what Smith wants. What does that help us? Yet there are many African graduates, many people who know politics, who are being left away from politics.
Do the tribal chiefs speak for you?
Well, it's very difficult for them to, because they are chosen by the government and they're supposed to support it. And moreover, they are paid by the government. If they say anything against it, they won't get anything. So obviously they will be on the side of the government. And I must say they are unpopular among the African.
Does anybody speak for you?
Not really, no.
The African's political representation is a curious mixture of ancient and modern. In Rhodesia's upper house, the Senate, sit the chiefs selected by a majority of the tribal elders. They're paid an allowance in order, as the government says, to enhance their prestige in the eyes of their people. In the lower house, 16 of the 66 MPs are elected by the black vote. 8 of them are chosen by these same tribal elders. The other 8 are the only ones directly elected by the registered African vote, which, in a population of 6 million, numbers 8,326. This is a young country to which the white man came only 120 years ago. Today, the white man is outnumbered 20-1 by the black. But the political power is his.
This is how you know how fucking white I am, is I know how to sail one of these. I did the same thing when I was a little kid.
Because the Rhodesian doctrine is that the reins of government must remain in what Mr. Smith describes as civilized hands. It's this insistence that makes a settlement impossible, while the British government stands firm on the 5 principles. In the meantime, the young white Rhodesian is aware of his privileged position, the ease with which he'll get a job.
My dad used to think it was very funny when we would sail. He would take me sailing on that thing, and we would be in the middle of the St. John's River. And St. John River is kind of a mixture of, it's brackish water. So you can have sharks in there, and you can also have alligators in there. And my dad used to think it was very funny to go and flip the sailboat and launch us into the water, and then have to fucking make me go swim back to the sailboat. What a fucking dick.
For instance, compared with a black school leaver.
What do you want to be?
Myself? That's the million-dollar question, Ray. At the moment, I'm working in a bank. I suppose I want to do something in commerce or industry, on the managerial side.
Did you find it difficult to get a job?
Oh, no. No, I've had 6 jobs in no time. No, not difficult at all.
What do you think about the situation where the African school leaver, in many cases the African graduate, finds it difficult to get a job?
Yes, I think this is true. I think there should be a lot more done for the African, from the point of view of jobs, providing for jobs, because there's a lot more of them than Europeans, and comparatively there aren't as many jobs being provided for them. This is something which I suppose will take time. You know, you can't do this overnight, but nonetheless it's something that should be worked on, you know.
Well, I'm afraid this is one of our biggest problems, because there are so many millions of Africans going through school, and the problem arises where you get an educated African coming out of, say, high school with good O-levels, and there are no jobs for him. I mean, there's so many of them that, you know, right now there's not much we can do about it.
And yet you see, you talk to many adults, and they would deny that this is the situation.
Well, this is only my personal opinion, but I've seen, you know, garden boys with O-levels, sort of thing. It's really sad.
What do you think's happening to this country today?
It's fluctuating terribly, I think. I think there's tending to be a slight repression, very slight, and the hope is that this tendency just doesn't increase. But there are others who think exactly the opposite, of course. But if you ask me where I'm going to use my vote, this is where I'll put it. To stop this, and I certainly agree with my friend up there, that this business of having equal rights for equal qualifications is certainly something we must try and get.
Quite often at school we have discussion groups about this subject. I think, like he says, it helps us. Makes us more broad-minded.
Are you critical of the government?
Sometimes, if we have to be.
But broadly speaking, do you think that the government represents the points of view of most of you and your friends?
I think so, yes.
The friend beside you is smiling.
I think generally that the country's doing well. If an African government had to take over, it would just go rock bottom, hit the bottom. I think it would.
Well, Zambia's dropped down because, after all, there was a European government there. And suddenly when the Africans came in, they tried to kick out all the Europeans. And now look at the country now. Sanctions are backfiring onto them.
I think, you know, Rhodesia is going very well at the moment. I think sanctions have done us, you know, quite a lot of good. Much to the chagrin of the British government. And, you know, I would certainly not give any quarter, you know, concerning majority rule.
You don't think there should be majority rule?
Well, I think at the moment, no.
Is there anything that you would try to explain to a British politician about your country which you don't think he understands?
Yes, certainly. I think the relationship between the black-white, you know, they oversee us as the cruel tormentors of the poor African, you know, whereas this is not the case at all. we get along very well with the Africans. You know, we both try to help each other. You know, and we mutually understand one another. They're just two totally different ways of life, and this cannot be bridged. You know, in a few generations.
But there are obviously, as you yourself have said, inequalities of
Yes, there
opportunity.
definitely are inequalities of opportunity, and I think this should be rectified if possible.
And what about the policy of separate development, which is the declared policy of the
Well, the policy of separate development takes in, you know, the fact that there are differences among the blacks and whites. I mean, the blacks themselves support separate development. I think there should be separate development, but there ought to be at the same time opportunities for Africans to make their way, you know, and to do well.
Certainly, the pattern of life of many Africans in Rhodesia has changed little over the centuries. Perhaps 3 million blacks live in the tribal trust lands, areas traditionally theirs. For many Africans, to talk of a concept of Western democracy is meaningless. Far more important is the day-to-day struggle for an adequate living. On a practical level, the government is spending thousands...
Isn't it kind of funny looking at this guy's farm and just being like how expensive it would be to live like that here in the States? And before I started this stream, I was actually just thinking about this guy that was kind of a local celebrity, and he used to live on the river in a tent and basically only wear a loincloth. And people that were visiting would get a little bit of a surprise because there's a, half-naked man. I don't want to give away his name, but he was definitely a local celebrity. And I don't think I say he's probably not alive anymore. But it's funny that this guy, obviously he was single, but lived out on the side of the river and pretty much probably was happier than most people with just a fucking tent, living in fucking a loincloth. It's crazy.
Thousands of pounds on teaching them modern farming methods. Their Africans, they say, are better off, more literate than in any other part of the continent, except South Africa.
The ingredients are 1 part soybean meal to 1 part maize meal.
And if in this government-sponsored cooking class the terminology is Western, with talk of spoonsful, pounds and ounces, it only underlines the final irony of the situation. Because the more the African becomes educated to Western ways and values, the more he will covet the standard of living and the political freedom that his European neighbour enjoys. The most crucial statistic in Rhodesia today is that the black population will double in the next 18 years. A few black Africans have fine homes like these on the outskirts of Salisbury. As the population grows, so too will the ambitions of the black majority. Sir Robert Treadgold was Chief Justice of Rhodesia until he resigned in 1960. His family came here around 1890 as part of the pioneer column that set out to claim the heart of Africa for Britain. Today, an outspoken critic of the Smith government, Sir Robert lives near the place where he was born in 1899.
How would you describe the situation in this country today?
We have here a ratio of more than 20 Africans to 1 white person. And it's quite absurd that that small section at the top are going to continue indefinitely to supply all the advanced skills in the country. And there's going to be great African advancement. You can see it now, even although it's not encouraged, and at least not in the white areas, but it's coming from sheer force of circumstances, just as it's coming in South Africa.
Do you see any differences between the situation in Rhodesia today and the situation in South Africa?
Oh yes, there is quite a difference. It depends whether you look at it from a legal point of view or from the point of view of attitudes. This country has never had the stark prejudice that obtains in South Africa, and I don't think that that's true of it today. But from a legal point of view, there's not a great deal of difference, I don't think, no.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the repressive legislation that's been passed almost parallels the apartheid in South Africa now. Certainly it opens the door to it. I don't think that any further legislation would be required. Complete apartheid could be brought in under the existing laws.
The legislation aimed at keeping the races apart is now being felt in the schools. Athletics, like most adult sport in Rhodesia, is multiracial. Rhodesia's Athlete of the Year last year was a black sprinter. But in government-run state schools, all team games are segregated, which sets a problem for the many independent private schools.
What do you feel about this situation where private schools have to take Africans out of their team if they're playing against a government school?
I think that depends on the school. We just don't play as school if we cannot play on their field. They come to us or they refuse to play with us. We refuse to play with them if they say we have to take any of our coloureds, Chinese or African out.
So if there's any segregation, in fact, you refuse to play them?
Yes.
Do you think there's freedom of speech in this country?
No, definitely not. I think the minute you say something, it goes back and goes back. I know my parents are terrified something's going to happen when I start talking, because they're civil servants and I usually put my foot in it.
Have you had any evidence of anything which you've said going back, as you put it?
Yes, well, it's been thrown in my parents' face and they've told me to be quiet. I think it's mainly when I start criticising
Considering how
apartheid
recent
principles that occur.
I just want to show you guys something that's a really, really good channel. If you don't know about this guy, it's a Zoomer historian. Let's see if I can put that up there, right there. Zoomer historian. He's got an excellent thing on the life of Cecil Rhodes. His videos are really, really good. Doesn't kind of do that kind of PC crap. Very good breakdown and the history of Cecil Rhodes and the creation of
Like
Rhodesia.
African friends, we've got a few in our class, but it's very difficult to communicate with them. They seem to close up any time you try to talk to them, and we do go out of our way to make them feel at home. But I think so many of them have been rebuffed by other whites that they feel that they can't speak to anybody else. They don't seem to realize that not everybody's the same. We've all got different opinions.
If you had a black African friend, would you take him home?
Well, I wouldn't mind it, no. I mean,
No, I think this is very frowned upon. I had a friend who felt very sort of friendly with Africans, and he once came into our home and he sort of shook hands with my houseboy, you know, sort of speaking to him. And my mother sort of said, look, what's he trying to do, you know? Why is he trying to go to extremes about things? I think it is fairly well frowned upon. But I must say that I do know one African who I probably respect more than any other person I know.
Why?
Because he's an intelligent person and his mind is developed. When I speak to him, I speak to an intelligent person, not to an African.
To an equal?
To an equal, yes. But this is...
That's exactly what I was just saying about that guy, Abraham, I was telling you about. You know, I learned so much from that guy and had more morality than most people that I've met in the United States.
You know, few and far between.
Can I ask you how you think your parents have handled the building of this country? I mean, are you critical at all of what your parents, the people in power, have done, let's say, during the last 20 years?
no, I think they've done a very good job when you consider the age of the country compared with, say, the United States, which has racial problems far worse than ours.
Can I ask whether you believe in equal rights?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Yes, if everyone's equally educated.
Yes, I do. Yes, I think I do.
Yes.
Do you believe in one man, one vote?
Yes, if the people are educated at the same level. At the moment, I don't, because you find that as far as education is concerned, the whites are in the majority, and one can't give the vote to uneducated people that they can't use their judgment, they can't assess the situation correctly.
But how can you say that when you also believe in equal rights?
I do believe in equal rights, but do you think rights are equal if you've spent 12 years at school, being taught cultural things, science, the arts, and someone comes straight out of a hut in the bush, do you think he deserves the same rights as you? If he had been educated on the same standard, fair enough.
But then he should have
Well, let
equal
me do this
educational
for
rights as well, shouldn't he? To enable
Slav's
him to come out
joke
of
right
his hut in the
here.
bush.
There you go.
With a parallel education to yours.
Let me say it, the Europeans have brought this country to what stage it is at the moment, so surely the Europeans should be educated, since they are the ones that have come and brought the education, since it's their educational system. The African is at the same, some of them are at the same stage now that they might have been several hundred years ago.
The black population in Rhodesia is growing faster than almost anywhere else in the world. Are you worried yourself by the fact that in the next 18 years or so the African population is going to double?
Well, it's something to think about. I wouldn't say I'm worried about it. You know, people also say might be a nuclear war, be wiped out, but I don't worry about it. It's just something which you think about from time to time.
Tonight, 4 black schoolboys are spending their 19th night in prison without a charge.
In case Mr. Ethan Company may feel this bunch is just a horde of extremists, I'll give him a practical example. There is a certain degree of tolerance in a chained, tame animal. You may pester it for the first time, and you can do that for as many times as you like. But
This guy's suit reminds me of when I would hang out with Abraham. He showed me a picture of him and his he showed me a picture of him with his family and friends over in Sudan in front of a bunch of huts, and they're all dressed in wool suits. It just made me laugh so hard every time I think about thinking about these tall black dudes in front of a hut with suits on.
But a time will come when that big chain will snap and the big animal will remove its tail from its hind legs. Then it will start, barking. Then from barking, it will bite.
According to Prime Minister Ian Smith, in his lifetime there will never be majority rule. He could be wrong.
Oh, that was the whole thing. Let's go back to this guy. Oh shoot, I don't want to. It was Emma Watson Society was the user that suggested this in the comments and told me about this guy. His name is Brendan O'Connell. He asked me what my opinion of him was. I watched this today. And he brought up something that I didn't think about before, which was he really basically he's really very much makes a point to say that they're all Jews. And I never really thought about the fact that maybe all these Saudis are Jews as well.
Carlson and Glenn Greenwald, of course, who have just discovered, as you've seen in the intro, that did you know? Did you know? It's like an episode out of Gone with the Wind with the gossip from the ladies. But she was ruined all the same.
He was expelled from West Point, he's so fast. And then there's that business about that girl he wouldn't marry. Tell. Well, he took her out buggy riding in the late afternoon without a chaperone, and then he refused to marry her.
It's a form of demoralization because I just look and go, Jesus, they just get away with it. Look at the acting on those two. I'm not going to go into their hour and a half long interview, but it's packed full of bullshit, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But what I will be doing is showing you this extract of this video and how it relates to what's unfolding. You're going to see over the next 2 months major revelations come out, and I mean major revelations. as they start to unwind. They've got to do the limited hangout. They have to do the controlled release. And some of it explained. We'll also watch a 4-year-old video, which is AI, the Antichrist. Did Israel invent 5G, and why are they so slow to build 5G networks? I uploaded that in late 2021. So what I really want to do in this video is to get across to you that Brendan O'Connell is not a genius. The 10, max 20 people over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years are not geniuses. We're normal. What the internet is worse than a sewer. Pat Berge described it to us perfectly. He said, we spend billions, Brendan, from 2008 on to totally lock you out of everything. Everything.
Explain in layman's terms what this system does, how it manipulates minds, how does it control media?
Well, you know, the same thing we indicted the 13 Russians for, right? Fake personas. One person could be 5 different people. One person could be, one analyst could be 5 or 10 different personas.
Sock puppets, megaphones.
So what this guy is talking about is something I'd noticed on Twitter. I'm pretty new to actually having an account there, and I noticed that a lot of what seems like real people always have this weird, like, I don't know, annoying stance, and they always have like MAGA in their bio, and just it seems like I constantly see the same kind of like profile. And it's, I know a while ago, if you guys haven't seen the video of Destiny being like trolled by AI, where like there's these AI accounts arguing with each other, and then they start fucking with him, and then these AI accounts, like, let me pull it up while he talks. I'll show you.
One person can be 5 to 10 different fake personas in a social media chat room, right? And he can be arguing with himself, sharing links between his multiple profiles, which helps both increase the search engine optimization, increases trending, and increases legitimacy.
So we're talking about election meddling type stuff.
Well, we're talking about anything.
It can amplify whatever you want. It's artificial.
It's artificial, right?
Okay, let me just show you this video. I'm not going to play it. I just want
it feels like
you guys to see
like
this.
Moving against something, or there's
Look
something
this
like
up. Look up Destiny's Schizo arc if you haven't seen it yet. It's on the channel Data Mosh, and it's about 12, 13 minutes long. Very, very, very interesting if you haven't seen it. I suggest you watch it after this stream. Let's go back to this guy.
So they understand how people will reflexively behave when you put a certain stimulus or certain information, right? So if we understand how people are going to behave, then we collect enough data on them, and like ClearForce, which is a product of ShadowNet, like built from its relational database core. ClearForce.com, owned by General Jones, owned by General Hayden, and some of the top people with the biggest credit reporting agencies and such on ClearForce.com, right? So that was built from the core. That was built from taxpayer-funded DoD weapon, which is used to determine whether or not you lose a job that you currently have or get a job you're applying to. Now, how does it do that? It says right on their website, it builds predictive behavioral models that determine whether or not you're predictively likely to steal or leak. It's a minority report. But instead of the precogs, you've got Jones and Hayden back there programming algorithms. So what if they decide to, you know, say anybody who listens to Alex Jones, we don't want working at our company, or anybody who voted for Barack Obama, we don't want, because it's not about politics.
It's an incredibly dangerous discriminatory system. So we're worried about black versus white. This is AI versus everybody.
Oh, it's far beyond just like fake personas on, you know, on social media.
It's total information awareness. Total information control.
Yeah, and that you can see, like right on their website, they show that this company Centricus, a UK financing firm, invested billions of dollars into ClearForce. And then the very next month, you can see that this China-owned firm invested $15 billion into Centricus. And then you can see that that same month, General Jones partnered with Facebook through Atlantic Council as God is my witness, Alex, to restore election integrity worldwide. And I kind of think that people need to have a discussion about that because, but nobody will listen. Nobody would hear me. And Millie and Gavin did, to their credit. And I warned them. I said, you know, this isn't going to be good. There's a reason that someone as big as, you know, built-wise as Bongino is afraid of these people.
Well, that's right. And also, again, Trump wants to get rid of this, but it's so incestuous. Both parties are so heavily invested and involved. That's why it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. And again, like you said, it's wedded to communist China. It's going to be shut down.
Okay. And we'll talk also about Peter Thiel and Palantir is forming databases on Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, databases have been formed for 30 years on Americans and all over the world.
Yeah, that's what, like, he was saying this as I was listening to it today. And the problem is not as I said the other day, is not making these databases. It's that now they have the ability to easily conjoin all of that data. It's that's the bad part.
GCHQ has been spying on.
I mean, you guys saw how, like, they released that video of all these dorks riding a tricycle through a underground cave where they store all the papers. Imagine now that there's just going to be a bunch of fucking people that not even need a bunch of people. You just have a computer just source all of that together and just create basically charges to put against you.
On you for however long. So please stop this garbage. Palantir, Peter Thiel is like the little pin-up. He's like the Epstein distraction. They own everything. Do you understand how Peter Thiel and this Palantir stuff, spying on Americans, forming databases and psychological profiles, is a complete Epstein distraction from the big issues? Which is what? They're in everything, which I'm about to explain with 5G and Qualcomm. And look at who their CEO is. How Intel and Microsoft are core-coded and designed in Israel. And then they're full of freaking Russian KGB GRUs. All of their high-tech electrical engineers come from fucking Russia and have done for the last 70 fucking years. No one can work it out except the Israeli press. And there's Tucker Carlson saying, wow, I don't think anyone knows about this. No, Tucker, they all know about it except the controlled alt media whores making millions of dollars a year. I don't know how I keep doing this, but I'll try. All right. So before we go on, let's just talk about the current CEOs. These were founded by Jacob Irwin. They were all Jews who founded these companies. When you look deep, the only Jew I will accept as a true American patriot is Andy Grove, real name like Hushman Finkelstein or whatever from Hungary. That guy was a legend. They say he was a bit of an asshole like a Steve Jobs, but he really got Intel Corporation working properly. When there's Phil Noyce and all the rest of the guys, Gordon Moore, were, you know, they were quirky scientists. But it was said that Andy Gove really got in and got the company running like a giant corporation. He had his electrical engineering. He is the classic, runs from communist Hungary, comes to America, kisses the ground he's on. He has to learn the language. And he worked his way to the top. He's not these fake Jews that come in and they won't say they're Jewish when they're clearly fucking Jewish, like this current CEO of Qualcomm. Another Portuguese, Spanish Jew made good. He's from Brazil. Andy Gove is the real deal. And he warned and warned about outsourcing technology out of the United States to Japan and Israel. He warned and warned and warned. All of these Jews have come out and warned, and the Goya just sitting there saying the Jews made them watch porn. I mean, you can understand the distraction of the Epsteins. You can understand the 6,000 distractions. Was Biden had a mental incapacity? Just the circus bullshit they have going on so we don't talk about these important issues. Anyway, let's look at some asshole Jews who we'll see if they survive the purge. Let's just put it that way. But let's remember Andy Grove. That's why you've never heard of Andy Grove, have you? You've never heard of him? Yeah, of course you haven't. You never heard of Professor Israel Shahak, have you? No, you haven't. Finkelstein's going crazy. I don't know what's wrong with Finkelstein. I used to love him. He used to make me laugh my ass off. But anyway, even Victor Ostrowski. We all knew who Victor Ostrowski was. Wage war by deception, the unmasking of a Mossad officer. He just pummeled Mossad. And, now Jay Dyer suddenly discovered him. Jeez, we were reading that 20 plus years ago, 30 years ago. And, you know, and then we get, you know, we just don't hear about them. Andy Gove is the classic. Of course you've never heard who Andy Gove is. Anyway, let's go to the actual article. So let's hear the start. Now, it's all going to be about, I want to quickly read to you a quote, though, from my UN document. This was written, I want to go to my UN just before we start, where I go into, this was written in 2012 from a maximum security prison. You can't make this stuff up. So before we go into what we're about to watch, and we'll learn what Gaza is about, we'll learn what Israel is about, we'll learn what quantum computing is about, we're going to learn all this stuff. And I wrote this.
Remember a little while ago, I did make a video on the new capabilities that they were trying to use, that Microsoft presented the technology of making quantum computers that were going to be not as susceptible to outside interference. That's kind of been on the technology theme of what I was talking about in the last couple of videos that I made about the VPN and all that shit. It's that quantum computer is going to be very, very important.
Remember, from Albany Regional Maximum Security Prison on the south coast of Western Australia in 2012 with a badly broken arm, untreated, a compound fracture of my arm. And I produced this document. It's absolutely incredible. Now, this is Kiwix. I got a lot of information like this sort of stuff. I got that. It's a form of Wikipedia, but it's on the hard drive in the prison, in the education. I found a ton of stuff on there that I could use in my document. So this is what I wrote, 2012 in prison. This is for my High Court synopsis. Imagine a quantum computer developed by Jews in the United States, perhaps jointly with Israel, linked in with the world's databases and the software that enables it to literally predict the future and track and trace every human on the planet. And imagine it is in the hands of people who think themselves God's chosen people with a history of religious and racial supremacism and a religion that promises they will rule the earth from Jerusalem. Don't arrest and charge the messenger. I'm just telling you what they say, think, and plan. Look what they can do with 4.4 million tweets with a few lines of information.
Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. You are a lion's cub, Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness who dares to rouse him. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his.
Cyber is a real domain of power.
Now that was in relation to a very undergraduate 2012 undergraduate program where they taught a low-level AI from undergraduates, not postgraduates, not PhDs. These are undergraduates, and in computing, coding, and computer software, and they managed to scrape Twitter and look for words like sick. And they were tracking with 90+% accuracy where the next flu outbreaks would happen. And over 90% accuracy. And they were looking for the word sick. And they had to find the part where it said, oh, that's fully sick, bro. So they had to, differentiate the word sick used in different contexts. And undergraduates managed to predict a 95% accuracy with just a few lines of code. And that was back in 2012. That's how powerful it is. Imagine what they got down at DARPA. So let's go back to the video. So keep all this in mind. Qualcomm, who the head CEO of Qualcomm is. The head of Qualcomm is in fact Christian Amon. I can't find anything about him saying I'm a proud Jew. They always do. But I absolutely guarantee. Born in 1970, dude. Come on, dude. You're the same age as me. Come on. get some nacca and glycine into you. Get some rosehip oil on the face, brother. But he'll be a Portuguese Spanish Jew. They always are, without question. Oh, member of the US-China Business Council. Yeah, of course you are. And that's the head of Qualcomm. And I've got some good stuff for you. Some of it's seen it. You'll see a video from 2021. You go, how are you so far ahead of this clown show? Well, no. It's just telling you how bad the clown show is. I would love to tell you I'm a genius, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. It's just so bad. They've chased off all the real people, and they're half-wits on there. That's what they've done. Now listen to this. They'll make it all. You'll just freak out. You're going to freak out when you grasp just how big this is.
Fox Business Alert, we are just getting this breaking news. The Financial Times has just dropped a report that says President Trump is ordering a specific group of chip designers to stop selling to China.
Really?
The FT says the Commerce Department has told electronic design automation companies, this includes Cadence, Synopsys, and Siemens EDA, to halt shipments of their chip technology to China.
If you don't know who those companies are, particularly Cadence, they run simulation software so you can design a chip in like a CAD program and simulate what its performance might be. You can't make a chip without this software. Now, remember how hard they've told you, oh, yes, we're clamping down on China. Well, they've never clamped down on China. Everything's flowing thick and fast. And there might be reasons for that. You know.
So something that I don't remember if he touches on, but the thing that what they're doing with these chips when they go and make these wafers and the computer chips that he's talking about that can handle a bunch of processes in a smaller format. The other thing that you have to worry about, and where that's going to come in with quantum computing, is that you can only bring things in so close to each other and have these basically lines that are sending communication so thin. So what's going to happen is it's going to be more and more important to go and develop further computers and technology is to be able to actually have quantum computing, because then you can actually have what essentially is smaller wires to transfer the lines of data between each other. And that means that you can get smaller chips and shrink things down and either create smaller devices or fit more into one device. I don't understand, though, why we don't make, like, if all these countries can steal our data and we have companies like Raytheon and all that, why can't we just make our own machines that make these wafers? Because that's pretty much the core of the problem. And it's not like we can't just source these materials to go and make them. I really don't understand why we don't just do that here.
You know, like medicines they make in China. China can get back at the US too. So they've been biding their time, playing their games. It looks like Xi Jinping might be gone. We'll wait and see what happens there. And looks like there's a couple of 300 million missing Chinese at least. But remember what I always said, the biggest problem for Xi Jinping might be gone. We'll wait and see what happens there. And looks like there's a couple of 300 million missing Chinese at least. But remember what I always said.
Has anyone else seen that recently, by the way? And I almost made a video on it, but I only saw one lady talk about it about a month ago on Rumble. And it's some Chinese woman that was making the claim that China has grossly overstated their population, and that there's only like less than somewhere between our population, like 330 to 500 million Chinese. And the claim is that they've culled a lot of their population. I don't know if anyone else has talked about that. I mean, that I didn't want to make any videos on it because it seems so insane to bring up, and I haven't really had any other resource to hear about that aside from this woman who is, I guess the reason I don't feel that she's a reliable source is because she's an anti-communist, like anti-Chinese speaker, which I'm not saying I'm against that, but that means that she doesn't have exactly like a fair and balanced approach, and she's my only source to go and to hear that from.
The biggest problem for Xi Jinping and his friends, the oligarchs of China, is their large population. They need to cull them down, and they'll cooperate with the US and others for that end. So just remember all this stuff, particularly the next 2 months. Now, this is just out today, 14 hours ago. I want you to remember, please remember, that this issue is going to burst out everywhere. Everything we've been talking about for you long-termers who've been with me this long, everything we've been talking about for the last, basically since I got back from Iran, 2017, when I was in that windowless hotel room in Kuala Lumpur. Everything we begged, pleaded, gave to...
Yeah, but Jared, when Sam Tripoli talked about this, he said exactly what I just said. Was he only saw that one woman speaking about it. Yeah, see?
Whitney Webb, she didn't ignore, she was told not to put it up, and Rick Wiles, all of them, hoard out. Now it's going to come pouring out. Now remember all the heroes who are going to come and tell you, while I sit alone, just remember, this is what they do to whistleblowers. There are no successful whistleblowers. They've never been successful, except, 20 years after they're dead. But these hordes...
Excuse me, but these man purses and skinny jeans are fashionable, and I will not have you bashing my purse.
All right, you keep telling me that you're worried about your kids, they're going to kill your kids, vaccine and sterilize your kids. Well, you don't seem that worried about it, that's all I can say.
Electronic design automation refers to the use of software used to design semiconductors. Cadence and Synopsys, you can see, are dropping pretty dramatically, and they dropped just right after the news hit the tape. Synopsys down 11 1/3%, Cadence down 9 1/3%.
Who cares?
Siemens EDA, which is an ADR, American Depository Receipt, German company, trades here, but it is that German company.
They're also heavily linked in the German hype because the Germans are just magic at lenses and all sorts of stuff. Incredible people, incredible technology they've had. Just know your World War II history, the technology they had in World War II is off the planet. A decade ahead of the best of many things. But just remember, like ASML in the Netherlands, not in America, everyone. The Netherlands, the machines that make the machines they use in Taiwan, no word yet when they're shipping those machines back, because you can't have chip technology security if you don't ship it out of the Netherlands. So I would expect we're going to hear about ASML being shifted to America soon. That's going to be a big deal, because remember, you have to remember this. This is how it all ties in. Please remember, ASML, it's all Jews, all of it. The old Portuguese, Spanish Jews, just like this CEO of Qualcomm, they're all Jews. Every single last one of them, wherever you look. And they're all lovers of Israel, proud to work with Israel. And they were putting their companies in the 1970s. That's how long they've been there. 5G was developed in Israel. They said it was a conspiracy theory. And there's 5G and Qualcomm bragging about it, but apparently it's a conspiracy theory. It's not that these Jews are so brilliant. Of course, they have some brilliant people. Well, they're nearly all Russians, all Russia-based, where there was a heavy emphasis in the mathematics and the hard sciences, because they were scientific rationalists, the communists. But they've just been shipped out by their Kissinger networks, by their long-term illegals, Russian GRU people, 5 generations worth of Bolsheviks, Jewish Bolsheviks sitting in the United States, shipping it all out in the 70s as dumbass Nixon, the idiot, and Nelson Rockefeller and Kissinger were transferring all the technology over to Israel via the Binational Science Foundation. And of course...
See, I'm glad that this guy is saying that, because I don't know what it was this week on Twitter, but like they were really pushing Nixon. I don't know if it was his birthday or something, but all these channels like were pushing Nixon, and I was like, buddy, he's the one that fucking sent all of our production over to China, and not only that, but he took us off the gold standard. It's one of the most damaging presidents we've ever had, aside from Woodrow Wilson.
Israel's passing it on to Russia and China as the city of London builds its network around the world. And the dumb Americans have said, no, fuck the United Nations. As I keep saying, just take over the world, America. It's a bit difficult when you've been subverted for 5 generations, isn't it? Because all these people are everywhere. But the 1970s, a Kia Yom Kippur War, then a very young Steven Spielberg starts releasing documentaries on the Holocaust, and suddenly we see the movie.
Hold on, let me give Slav another rim shot. There we go.
Into the Binational Industrial Research and Development Foundation. You see getting rid of James Angleton, and we're going to rehabilitate James Angleton very soon, not completely, but 50% at least. When good old Nixon, who could have been a great president, too much in bed, too in love with money with Nelson Rockefeller and good old Heinz Kissinger. And when he woke up, they got rid of him, they got rid of Angleton. And we see the flowing in and the rapidly shifting of Intel Corp and everything into Israel, rushing to get there for the start of the Kissinger, City of London, Rothschild, multipolar world order, all in the 1970s. So as we watch this video, and I'll show you some other videos, and we think about Takak, oh my God, Israel may be transferring to China. We are seeing the unfolding of the greatest espionage case in history. You've been here with me, long-termers, and I thank you for your long-term support. I'd ask you, thank you for putting up with me, but it's not about that. I'm fucked, all right? My life has been fucked. You don't know what it's like to be by yourself. I'm by myself. I've had no friends in Mexico. They've all been acquaintances. They're all fucking commies and fucking new age Apple iPod using fucking commies who hate America. And that's why I just got to get the fuck out of here. I don't know where, but I'll work it out in the next month. It's been hell. And now I've got to watch these fuckers as they release this shit. See, they won't even pay me any money.
See, either I'm going fucking insane and I'm in my own version of the dead internet theory, or I'm on the right track because, his name is Brendan O'Connell. Let me go ahead and kind of minimize this a little bit so you can see it better. Oh, God, I'm an idiot. Well, that's how you spell it. It won't let me adjust the size of my recording. I don't think. Yeah, since I've already said it. But it's very interesting how I started off recently making more videos again. And the first things I started talking about was the VPNs and the quantum computing and all this stuff. And then, it's all coming together and it's other people are noticing this shit. And just how it's weird. Like all of this is being combined into knowledge of ancient fucking biblical shit. It's so weird to just see this play out and have other people noticing that together.
If we keep doing this to whistleblowers, they're going to fuck us because this is the controlled release limited hangout. It'll drag us all to hell. You should not feel happy that this... I don't feel happy at all. I feel depressed, like, oh, God, here we go, the controlled release, and I'll end up fucking broke, an old man, That's why I'm going to hit Australia. I mean, that's on the cards too. We have to work it out over the next month. I'll have to go back to Australia, and trust me, in Australia, they are not going to make peace with me. We're going to war. I'm going to have to kill people. I will literally kill people, and they know that. So, and you can't negotiate with them. I'm telling you, I know this bureaucracy. I've got all these supporters, judges, serving retired judges, lawyers, fucking police, intelligence, special forces, and I just can't win. Everyone just sits there. So if I have to spill blood at Sydney Airport.
Also, man, I've kind of hinted at my friendship with this guy, and this guy could fucking have me killed. And there's very few people and very few things that I have fear of. But also, I hope you guys saw that the candidate for the right-wing party of Colombia just got clipped in the head. And this guy that I know is, does consulting work in South America. And I know that he does a lot of work down there. Let's just say that. God, dude, I hope that they weren't involved with this shit.
But I'm spilling blood. Don't even try to talk me out of it. But we'll see. And we'll see. Oh, talk's so cheap. I hate talking like that, but I'm trying to warn them. Dudes, if you don't move quick, just give me some fucking money so I can fuck off.
Hey, Emma Watson Society. Just want to thank you again for recommending this guy's channel.
It's going to be fucking trouble, cunts. I'm never working with you. I'm never... What do you think? I'm going to make peace and Tucker's going to call, hey, Brandon, I want to give you some publicity. I'll get on there. I'll say, oh, fly down to Mexico, Tucker. That's great. And I'll stab him to death. I would literally stab him to death. Once and for all, these fuckers. I will never speak to these fucking people. Well, I will. I'll say, if they ever run, oh, that's wonderful. Come on down. Bring your producer. Come on down. Come on fucking down. Oh, great to see you. Boom, 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 boom. Let the blood flow. I don't give a fuck. My channel Patreon can go fuck itself. I don't give a fuck anymore. You're gonna find out when I say I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck.
It's down about 2% at the moment. All right, while the president puts the brakes on chip designs to China, the afterglow continues from his recent whirlwind tour of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar earlier this month. Now, the European Union is now hoping to lock up its own deal with the UAE. The EU is in advanced talks for a first-of-its-kind free trade agreement with a Gulf country. Now, President Trump touted trillions...
These are the Jews of Saudi. They're all Jews. All these people are Jews.
...billions of dollars in economic investments on his trip, and Qualcomm was just one of the U.S. business delegation that accompanied the president to lock up new deals with the...
Look, two Jews. Jew there playing a Muslim, and a Jew there playing I'm not related to anything, I'm just some guy from Brazil.
Middle Eastern countries. This morning, Qualcomm President and CEO Cristiano
organized
Amon
crime cult.
rang the opening bell at the NASDAQ to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the company. In a Fox Business exclusive, we got a chance to ask him what everyone's sudden interest in expanding Mideast business relationships really says.
Expanding Mideast relationships. I reckon it's got something to do with this. Imagine a quantum computer developed by Jews in the US, perhaps jointly with Israel, linked in with the world's databases and the software that enables it to literally predict the future. Blah, 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 blah. Imagine in the hand, it can literally predict the future. I think it might be that. And Ray Kerr, Jews, Jews fucking everywhere. I can't find, is there any Irish Catholics in here? Anywhere. Well, that's so brilliant. No, you took over because the dumb guy were asleep. Ray Kurzweil. I always thought Ray Kurzweil and this transhumanist stuff was just a complete joke. Like, what whack jobs these people are. Little did I know how worshipped this guy is. This is 2012, people. Kurzweil suggests that AIs will inevitably become far smarter and more powerful than enhanced humans. In February 2009, Kurzweil, in cooperation with Google and the NASA Ames Research Center, announced the creation of the Singularity University. The university's self-described mission is to assemble, educate, and inspire a cadre of leaders who strive to understand and facilitate the development of exponentially advancing technologies and apply focus and guide these tools to address humanity's grand challenges. And when you watch this, where is it? All this stuff about Saudi, a bunch of half-wits lopping off heads. They're all doing coke and hookers while they oppress their people, put all the great Saudi intellectuals into prison. The moment they open their mouths, the UAE, all of them, they're all Jews. All of them. And you think that's so far-fetched? Do you really think that's so far-fetched? For God's sake, how do you think they infiltrate Hamas? Because they're Arab Jews. They're Arab Jews. Look at Yisra Hussun, the second in charge of the Shin Bet. Okay, he's renowned as the greatest recruiter. He's an Arab. He spoke Arabic. He was born in Damascus. They're born in Iraq. The Kadoris and Sassoons, the great banking families, the Rothschilds of the East. They're Iraqi Jews. So what? When you see a Saudi Muslim sheikh, you don't think he's a fucking Jew? How else can you explain the fact that they sell out their people? They killed King Faisal. And we've got all these half-breed fucking lunatic, coke-dealing, coke-snorting, hooker-fucking, whiskey-swilling scum lopping their heads off their own fucking people, locking up any dissident who opens their mouths. And we sit here and accept Saudi? Fuck Saudi. When are you going to free Saudi Arabia, free the world? Fucking Saudis are embarrassed. They want to be normal. That's what this is all about. It's everywhere. The links are all below.
I was just explaining that to the guy at work that I've been kind of red pilling on this subject matter. And I was explaining to him, like it's not, that's why I like this whole thing about Semites. And I'm sure Jared will talk about it with the lineage of Shem and how these people are not Semites. They're not even Jews. And when you look at the population of Israel, then they all look completely different. You got these weird looking redheads. You've got these weird inbred creatures, and then it's illegal in that country to do a 23andMe. It's pretty wild when they purposely hide that there's not any like structure to their genetic lineage.
I could talk for hours about this, like ASML, the Netherlands, the Portuguese and Spanish Jews, the slave traders. They all came out of Amsterdam, right next to ASML. What else is there? ICTS, thank you, Chris Boleyn. Look, I didn't find this information. I got it off Chris Boleyn. Give the fucking person you hear from the credit they deserve. Chris Boleyn writes, ICTS was founded by the Shin Bet in Amsterdam. I've got 2 questions. They run all airport security around the world, including all US airports. What did I say about Rad Group and Zohar Ziswa? All banks, all telecommunications, all military encryption, all radios, radar, FAA, planes flying into helicopters, hello, remote takeover, all Chris Boleyn. No one will say his fucking name. Whitney Webb, you cunt of a thing. Fucking James Corbett. Gee, God. Fucking traitorous pieces of shit. Oh, I'm worried about my children. Well, you don't seem...
This guy is just my inner monologue.
Too worried, just sitting around clicking links. Giving you gold information. You can't seem to do anything with it. Look at Mary, running for Congress. You think she's got no support? No one's giving her a fucking thing. That's why most of you have got to be fucking fake. You have to be. I'm just here to entertain you. Fuck it. That's why I say I'm so fucking sick of it. I'm not like you. I'm not like other people. I can't just do shit for money. I have to believe in what I'm doing. And I just can't do this anymore. So why is ASML and ICTS in the fucking Netherlands, 2 massive companies, which are completely should be in the United States? Why aren't it in the United States? I don't know. Ask Henry Kissinger. Ask Whitney. Whitney, do you know who Henry Kissinger is? Maybe Tucker's going to tell us something very fucking soon. Who knows? Wow. We'll all go, wow, thank you, Tucker. You're saving us from the globalists and the blue-haired tranny fuckers. Thank you. God, I just can't. It does my head in. So ASML, machines that make the machines. What the fuck is it doing in the fucking Netherlands? What is ICTS, the airport security for the world, founded by the Israeli Shin Bet? Do you understand?
This guy's from Australia, he said, and it's interesting to watch how quickly your country can get taken over, because they were very, very, let's say, I guess just racist against Chinese people, which did keep them having a very nice country. And then all of a sudden, they removed the law that prevented any Chinese and Asians from moving to their country, and now look at where they're at.
It's all Israelis, it's all Jews. It's all Russian Jews. City of London. And I don't notice that fucking useless clown thing Trump getting that back too quick. They know they're getting it. See, it's not like they're keeping it a secret. ASML know they're next on the block. They don't seem very worried about it, because let me guess, ASML is never going to be spoken about. Oh, yeah. So Taiwan Semiconductor has to be taken from Taiwan, right? But not AS.
Yes, yep. They had a law, and I believe they removed it in 1991. And I don't know if anyone here is more familiar with it, but I'm pretty sure it was 1991 that they removed it, because it was basically a white ethno state. And they really, really, I remember when I was younger, like, it was always difficult to move to Australia. Like, that was like the holy grail of moving places. But you had to like prove that you had a job and like you would actually contribute to society. And then it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore.
ASML, the Dutch East India Company in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, ICTS, airport security around the world.
And in the court proceedings, the judge, Alvin K. Hellerstein, dismissed this company, this Israeli company, from the proceedings. So they were excused. They were off the hook. And this company, ICTS, has passenger screening operations and airport security operations around the world to this day.
You do know that Amsterdam and the Netherlands is like the cocaine capital of Europe. It's the ecstasy capital of the world, and a lot of meth as well. It's all run through there. And look, I'm going to tell you something radical. I don't even believe Dimona nuclear reactor is real. I think it's a giant meth lab, an ecstasy lab. No, I'm fucking serious. I'm fucking serious. You can never tell me. I got to do a video on that one too. Israel and nuclear weapons. You can't make a nuke without testing it. You're going to have to test it at least 5 to 10 times minimum. Where did Israel? It's a simple question. Look, it's like asking the question about.
You know, there's also recently, I mentioned it. I was watching this guy's video from the Fukushima thing, and he made the point that the polonium that they used in the reactors was only good for so long because it obviously has a very short half-life, and the nuclear material that we're using, I haven't gone and confirmed this, but he seemed to know what he was talking about because he knew the entire structure of the nuclear reactors, that the half-life of a lot of these nuclear weapons was like 90 days. So it's very interesting to think about. We're constantly be threatened with nuclear war, and then being told that all these things were decommissioned, and how well would these weapons work? I mean, sure, you know, a very depleted nuclear weapon still put a hurting on your city, but do we still have those that level of weaponry?
And Hamas terrorists, okay, their leadership are in 5-star hotels in Cairo, Turkey, Ankara, and Qatar, particularly Qatar, okay? Terrorists, mass killers, 5-star hotels, right next to the US airbase. As Winston told us, this is a conspiracy.
Kind of worked with the Israeli government to fund in cash Hamas in Gaza.
Is Qatar really a neutral place? Hamas have been able to siphon off billions of dollars and keep it safely in Qatar. And yet the American airbase is there. How do I make sense of this? And yet the American airbase is there. How do I make sense of this? And yet the American airbase is there. How do I make sense of this?
So I'm using my same fucking brain to ask these very simple questions. They're all fucking Jews. There, I've said it. And then other Jews come out and warn us, and all we can do is go, the Jews made me watch porn. Fuck, jeez. No wonder Jews just sit there and say, Brandon, we told you, they're fucking stupid. You're one of us, bro. Come on over. It's like, yeah, I know, I feel like it. So let's show a video I made 4 years ago. Israel and 5G. Let's watch this, shall we? It's a good video, man. I just watched bits of it again. And we're not going to watch the whole thing. But I was laughing at it. Some of it's quite funny. I had a dancing robot at the end. Let's go. Let's address some of this, shall we? So we've just watched Tucker tell us, my goodness, everyone. My goodness. Tucker says we're going greenwald. Israel's selling technology to China. Watch this. Israel and Israeli companies are key to the design, testing, and implementation. 4 years ago. 4 years ago. Remember this news article. Israel combining its technology with China's capacity. Oh, Tucker! Israel is key to keeping China alive on the technology front. That's America's greatest ally, remember? Technology that is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, funded by the US taxpayers via the Pentagon budget. But I guess when you're creating a giant artificial intelligence brain to take over the world, you'll be needing the cooperation of a lot of countries, hence the tech giveaways. Giant Google fiber optic cable project. Yes. It's all coming together. This was April 2020, that article.
I still can't put my thumb down on where China really is at. It's so hard to go through all of the propaganda, because on one hand I see these giant ghost cities that are made of just basically just particle board. You got these skyscrapers that are just falling apart, and people are just investing in them to keep this giant sham housing market bubble going on in China. And on the other hand, I see these cities that have 20 million, supposedly 20 million people, in each one of them. And like, there's cities that no one even knows the names of them here. And they're bigger than most of our metropolises, more technologically advanced. And we're so lied to by both sides. It's hard to figure out what's actually truly going on.
The blue Raman cable run from Italy to India, but due to geopolitics, it will be divided into two parts. 5G, 60 gigahertz oxygen affecting range. They pan out at 37 to 43 gigahertz, and the majority is 3.4 gigahertz in towers.
I think I accidentally skipped forward. I'm sorry.
Technology front. That's America's greatest ally, remember? Technology that is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, funded by the US taxpayers via the Pentagon budget. But I guess when you're creating a giant artificial intelligence brain to take over the world, Google fiber optic cable, all coming together. This was April 2020, that article. The blue Raman cable run from Italy to India, but due to geopolitics, it will be divided into two parts. The 5G you hear about most often is simply based in old 4G towers and operating at 3.4 gigahertz, not 60 gigahertz. The flat panel 5G closer to street level are nearly all operating at the 29 to 38 gigahertz range. Nowhere in China uses the magical 60 gigahertz oxygen affecting range. They pan out at 37 to 43 gigahertz, and the majority is 3.4 gigahertz in towers right next door to the 4.
Remember how I was saying on the videos before about how Wi-Fi works, and you've got like these 5G. That was the problem previously, is that it's hard to get it to go long distances because you have a bigger wave band that doesn't travel through things as well as like a 2.4 or 3.4 gigahertz wave band.
4G. So when you hear 5G in Wuhan, that's what you're talking about. Only the United States and Canada get the delicious health benefits of the 60 gigahertz range, which is 64 gigahertz to be exact. Now that's interesting. Not even China is.
So that's actually a good point. I was just thinking about that today or the other day about meant to mention that if you've ever noticed on Google Maps that they kind of don't seem accurate sometimes, the reason that Google Maps is not accurate, and I learned this a while ago, is that the government makes it mandatory that our maps are not completely accurate. That way other countries like China can't properly, accurately assess like all the roads and the measurements. It was something to do with defense.
Bothering with that. South Korea has the biggest uptake of 5G networks, and so far no great outbreaks of coronavirus. They, like China, use the vast 3.5 gigahertz range, and they plan on the rollout of millimeter wave panels later this year in 2020. We should keep an eye out. In short, drop the coronavirus caused by 5G crapola. Please, it's horsepower. Conversely, I guess home Y-gig, as they call it, that's a 5G base station as your home router, may well kill us all if it operates at the 60 gigahertz range as expected. Can't wait for that. It can also map its immediate surroundings in fine detail like the millimeter wave radar on top of an Apache gunship. It can even scan your face, for crying out loud. You just know they are going to abuse the hell out of this in the... And that's the key. While we talk about the other bullshits, like talking about Epstein or talking about Peter Thiel and Palantir, all right, you're missing the obvious, the security aspect, the invasiveness. The 60 gigahertz and above can map, it can recognize you. It's like light. It can watch people walking around, going to the toilet. And you have to have them everywhere because their range is so short and a piece of paper will block the signal. That's what we're not talking about.
This is about China, but we do the same thing. This is an article from Medium. Every map of China is wrong, and this is intentional. And we also do the same thing. So that's something you can look into if you're curious about what I was just talking about, where they do purposely make maps inaccurate so that other countries have a harder time of properly taking offensive action against them. Where are we at?
It's for AI. The key with AI is you must have low ping, low latency, high speed, 28 gigahertz and above. That is the only way the AI they're building will work properly, because they want your information in real time, not just books from 20 years ago or your feelings from an hour ago, what written on Facebook. They need to know everything instantly. So for the UBI to come, if you get things implanted in your brain or in your body, the transhumanists, you will feed the AI and you will get money for just walking around, jerking off to porn and going to the cafe, whatever you're going to do. And you will get UBI credits. And there'll be lots of half-wits who will absolutely go for that. That is the future. And they know to have the AI mixed with a quantum computer, which is the CERN particle accelerator, that's what it's all about, so they can simulate the universe. That's what the grand theme of this is all about. Everything you see unfolding, Gaza included. And as everyone's saying, there was a zero saying, how come you've all coming out of the woodwork just as it's all winding up? You're all, oh, crying Jews are there. Not in my name, these actresses. I mean, it's pathetic. Where were you? People burn down phone towers and quote Flat Earth Joe. Okay, that's enough. Let's get onto Israel and 5G. Let's start with the king of 5G, Qualcomm. Qualcomm dominate mobile 5G technology, all the way from 2G through to 5G. Qualcomm was the leader and everyone paid a premium to use their technology. So where was a good portion of this technology developed? Israel. Because, you know, Americans are just so stupid. Let's remember all the key developers in Israel were from the Soviet Union. Russia and the Ukraine all were the sons and daughters who spoke Russian, and many no doubt Hello, KGB assets at the time. Hello, Tucker, Glenn. Hello, Glenn, your favourite guy, Julian Assange. Whoa. KGB infiltrated highest echelons of Israel's army, business and political leadership. Erwin Jacobs is about.
Oh, speaking of KGB infiltrated Israel, today I saw that Israel actually suffered their, and this could be just propaganda from Iran, but they suffered their greatest intel leak and spying by Iranian spies today. What was I think it was Ryan Dawson that I saw. Even though he's kind of a douchebag, I still listen to him or subscribe to him a little bit on Twitter.
And you just remember how Whitney Webb refused to talk about this. Praise Putin, praise China with her friend, the last American vagabond, Ryan Christian, James Corbett. Whores, liars, deceivers. Well, don't forget to like and subscribe. And geez, oh my God, it's just like God. They don't have Google, clearly. This is all Israeli press reporting this. Talk about in this article, 1973. The year of détente with the Soviet Union and Communist China and Henry Kissinger and the BSF, or Binational Science Foundation. Around the same time, the ban on Jewish immigration to Israel was lifted in 1971, leading to the 1970s Soviet Union Aliyah, or immigration to Israel. The coming to power of Mikhail Gorbachev in the Soviet Union in the mid-1980s and his policies of glasnost and perestroika, as well as a desire for better relations with the West, led to major changes, and most of these so-called refuseniks were allowed to emigrate. Yeah, you bet they were. This was an intelligence operation to gain technology, and it has been going non-stop ever since. Please watch video number 14, How Russia and Israel Destroyed Intel Corporation. Tucker, Glenn, hello.
Also, I recently heard that Mr. Xi might be on the way out, though they say that all the time. Like when the beginning of the Ukraine war really started like hitting in the last 5 years, they said Putin was on his way out and he had cancer. And then there was like these videos coming out of Xi maybe a year and a half ago, I want to say, where he was like supposedly had a seizure or something. So you never know if they're actually trying to take him out, if our government's lying, or like his own people are trying to take him out. A lot of people in both of these countries don't feel that these two leaders are quite aggressive enough with the rest of the world. And even then, these two guys have been butting heads, as I've mentioned several times, in northern, the northeastern part of Russia, where they're doing all the mineral mining and offshore drilling for oil. It's been a problem because they keep using Chinese nationals as slave labor up there in northern Russia.
This is the Times of Israel, 21st of January, 2014. Qualcomm founder a fan long before Startup Nation. Erwin M. Jacobs prides himself on being one of the first US entrepreneurs to discover what Israel could do for multinationals. Some multinationals only became aware of the Startup Nation after reading the book of that title, at which point they rushed in, feet first, to grab a piece of Israel's tech magic for their companies. But others, call them the old-timers, knew the secret of Israel's success years before the country's technology prowess was in vogue. Knew the secret of Israel's success years before the country's technology prowess was in vogue. Hey, Whitney! Among those veterans is Erwin M. Jacobs, a co-founder and former chairman of Qualcomm, by far the world's largest cell phone technology company. In the same way that Qualcomm was ahead of its time in cell technology development, I was ahead of my time in seeing Israel's potential, Jacobs told the Times of Israel on the sidelines of this year's Innovex event. A huge corporation, Qualcomm, with a market cap in excess of $100 billion, has 157 facilities in dozens of countries around the world, including Israel. Last year, the company celebrated the 20th anniversary of its presence in Israel, where it has developed some of its most innovative technology. Among the technologies developed by Qualcomm Israel are the company's M2M, or machine-to-machine cellular platform, which is used to track the location of pets, kids, the elderly, and property, a spokesperson said. It's part of Qualcomm's attempt to create a Internet of Everything, where objects are intelligent. You know, me and Diane tried to tell you, they're in everything. Peter Thiel, Palantir may have been psychologically profiling Americans for men. Oh no! Oh my God, you're not even touching the surface. They own everything. Gently connected through a combination of advanced wireless networks, modules, sensors, and software to enable the real-time exchange of information, with key elements development in Qualcomm's Haifa facility, the company said. Among the products that have resulted from that technology is Tag, the pet tracking device. Jacobs started his career in telephony and communications in 1968 when he founded Linkabit. The company eventually morphed into Qualcomm in 1985. By that time, Jacobs was very familiar with Israel and Israelis.
By the way, this is something that everybody should... I'm sorry to blast your ears like that. This is an interview you guys need to really listen to. It's called The Haifa Pipeline and How Oil Drives Middle Eastern Geopolitics. It's off of Scott and Horton's channel. And he interviews a guy named Gary Vogler, who was in the oil industry, and describes how even though Iran and Israel were both, publicly feuding and, up in starting in 93, I believe. Was it 73 or 93? I'm mixing up things. I think it was 93. And they were selling them oil all the way up until 96, even though publicly they were having, some blood feud going on. And they still had a pipeline going through Iran to go and get Israel oil. So this is all just wrestling. It's just one giant wrestling.
Quote, I came to Israel about twice a year. The first time was right before the Yom Kippur War in 1973, he said. Throughout Qualcomm's early years, quote, a number of Israelis came to work with us in the US. Some stayed and some went back, and we kept working with them until we eventually decided to open an Israeli office in 1993, explains Jacob. This was all planned to shift it all. Great contributions to mobile technology was development of the CDMA, or Code Division Multiple Access Standard, which paved the way for fast 3G and 4G communications. Now, just remember when we watched it in with those extracts from Fire in the Valley, the Pirates of Silicon Valley, how they go to Xerox, and Xerox was ordered to hand over the mouse, the graphical user interface, everything to Steve Jobs and Apple. They'd simply distribute the tech. It's all taxpayer funded. They had Skype, mice, keyboard, literal video conferencing in about 1972. It's in that extract from All Watched Over by Machines of Loving Grace. Pachenik, Dr. Steve Pachenik was involved in that. So this is how long they've been developing this stuff. And then they DARPA, taxpayer fund DARPA to the tune of $100 billion, $50 billion, no one knows. And then they distribute that technology wherever they want it because they own the United States. The United States, Americans aren't doing this. These people are internationalist Bolsheviks. That's what they are. Trying to track the goy, the dogs, the animal trackers. Israeli teams helped to develop the standards for these technologies, Jacob says. In the early days of cell phone technology in the mid-1990s, few expected that the mobile revolution would reach the proportions of today. And in recent years, bandwidth, the amount of space on the radio bandwidth dedicated to cellular communications, has become very crowded because of the proliferation of devices and services that consume so much data. Israel, said Jacobs, is an area where Qualcomm is developing the technology to solve this data traffic mire. Israel's biggest contributions to mobile technology is its ability to design better ways of controlling things, increasing data rates and enabling us to squeeze more out of existing bandwidth using technologies such as femtocells, Jacobs said. Quote, in addition, Israelis are developing some wonderful apps, such as those that can be used for telemedicine, enabling doctors to diagnose and consult with patients remotely. Let's move it along a little. And I guess you've already grasped the title. If someone tells you that you're just an anti-Semite repeating tropes you read on the internet about 5G being designed in Israel...
Fuck, what was it he just said that reminded me of something?
And I guess you've already grasped the title. If someone tells you that you're just an anti-Semite repeating tropes you read on the internet about 5G being designed in Israel, well, again, 5G mobile revolution designed in Israel. Now, I'm sure it's a little more complicated than that, but let's just take the article.
Sorry, I'm going to
at its
rewind
word.
just a second.
Data.
There was something he said that
Israel, said Jacobs, is an area where Qualcomm is developing the technology to solve this data traffic mire. Israel's biggest contributions to mobile technology is its ability to design better ways of controlling things, increasing data rates and enabling us to squeeze more out of existing bandwidth using technologies such as femtocells, Jacobs said. Quote, in addition, Israelis are developing some wonderful apps, such as those that can be used for telemedicine, enabling...
that's what it was, a telemedicine. What was it? I think it was Danny, actually, or the Boys Cast, that had, what's the guy that pissed everyone off by raising the price of the AIDS medication, and also Martin Shkreli. He's working on right now, he was talking about when he was on there, about making an app specifically to basically make an app for telecom medicine to go and replace doctor's visits. And I'm assuming he's probably going to be involved with using AI. I haven't heard him update anything, but also I don't really follow him too closely.
Doctors to diagnose and consult with patients remotely. Let's move it along a little. And I guess you've already grasped the title. If someone tells you that you're just an anti-Semite repeating tropes you read on the internet about 5G being designed in Israel, well, again, 5G mobile revolution designed in Israel. Now, I'm sure it's a little more complicated than that.
Someone recently was talking about the Finns and their cell phone technology. I watched so many videos, so all of it merges together. It could have maybe he starts talking about it later in this video, but there was something nefarious about that as well.
But let's just take the article at its word. Qualcomm Israel's Asaf Tobul and Ronan Shoashua tell Globes about the unheard of download speeds and greener networks coming soon. Qualcomm Israel VP Technology Asaf Tobul starts the conversation with an unequivocal statement. Quote, Qualcomm's first 5G cellular was developed in Israel in Hod Hashron and will be launched in 2019. The pride he feels at this enormous achievement is unmistakable. Tobul founded Ra'anana-based Design Art. Let's keep moving. Let's go here. It wants its data, and it wants it now, in real time, at all times, corporate or individual, and all this stuff is being handled by Israel. And with online craziness continuing, flat earth, burning down 5G towers, Charlottesville, Nuremberg-style rallies chanting Jews will not replace us, ongoing blatant Jew baiting a la 1930s National Socialist Germany, constant hacking by Russians who happen to be Israelis, it's time to lock down the internet and bring everyone to heel. Thank goodness the amazing Israel is there to save us. Sitting in the middle of the Pan-Eurasian superstate economic development known as the Belt and Road, laying that optic fiber network for the AI data. Now let's continue briefly. Mr. Tobul states, there's something very correct about this. First of all, it brings a lot more spectrum into the game. Now that we're developing 28 gigahertz and 39 gig.
Cyber powers in the world, I think it's safe to say we're not number.
There we go. Let's just move it along.
Which is alliances. These are the same alliances that we see now developing. Asia, the countries of Africa, Latin America.
And who talks about it in the depth required without adding, white supremacism?
You guys think we're some fucking game? We are going. Cheryl. We are going. White power!
How did they get this video of me? I did not consent to this.
Shape-shifting lizards and flathead.
It's been 19 days since you last came on the show. Our last conversation went, quite frankly, viral, David, which tells me one thing. People want to hear the truth. David, welcome back to London Mail.
I mean, it's so absurd. Israel is the second eye of the Five Eyes network, despite being completely in bed with Russia and China. Now, please tell me how the hell that works and why it's not on everyone's lips. Jeez. Now, let's ask that question, shall we? Can we ask that question? It's like, so Hamas terrorists are all in Qatar where they're funded, and Qatar is all City of London banking finance, and Qatar is next to the biggest US airbase in the region? I don't understand. See, it's simple I love asking simple questions. It's right in front of you. It's all open source. Nothing's hidden. But none of the whores will tell you. Yeah, I'm bitter. I'm fucked. I have $3,000. I'm 54. I'm smart. I had a career. Lost it all. And I'm starting to wonder why I bothered as the limited hangout controlled release comes about. And we'll talk about Mary Silver. People are going, well, what do I do? Have you rang Mary Silver? She'll pick the phone up. Donation is not as important. What we need is $100,000, $1 million, not $1,000. Need $1 million. But have you asked her, like, what do I do, Mary? Well, she'll tell you, this is where you organize. This is how you get down to the Republican Party. This is how the politics work. Remember, Mary's been doing politics for years. She didn't just start now. She's been a libertarian, young Republican, you name it. That's what I mean. She's not like a Democrat trying to penetrate. She's a conservative Catholic Republican, all right, who's disgusted with the whole damn system. But she's just common sense, like a Reagan Democrat voter, blue collar voter. Just common sense. So that's how, if you want to help, if you want to do something, besides sending me $10 until I'm tired of it all and I head back to Sydney, I'll let you know. There's Mary Silver waiting for you. But you're not doing a damn thing. So I don't know. That's why I just think, I give up. Because if we're not moving politically, I don't see the point. So I think I could boost that along with a nice event down at Sydney Airport, which is a promise, not a threat. That's a promise. That's where we're heading. We'll see. The next month, I want to have because when I do it, I want to be ready to go, not just, I'm having a bad day, I'm going to run, I want to have it planned meticulously, and I've got a bit of stuff to organise first to make sure all my material is out there and easily available. Because I know these clowns are not going to get the message, but they knew it was coming, and they did nothing. So.
I like... I like that, like, his format is basically just shouting at, it's like a Sam Hyde video, but it's all just like Jews, 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 Brazilians, Brazilians, Brazilians.
Like I said, I'm asking simple questions. This is 2021. People wonder why I get so angry and frustrated. Yeah, wonder why.
Israel is the sixth eye? No.
This is 2018.
Israel is the second eye. Israel is the second eye.
Here's simple questions, people. But then, that's the internet. It's just a sewer. Israel does all the Microsoft Windows core coding and security center. That's the keys to the kingdom. Numerous reports suggest that the multinational company is transforming its Israeli R&D centers into the nucleus for global development of cybertech for Windows and Microsoft cloud services. Hello.
Remember how I was saying, and I made that video about Microsoft making the new quantum computers? This is where it's going.
Whitney Webb, do you remember when we sent you all this stuff 5 fucking years ago, continuously, and you ignored it and said, Microsoft might be an election guard with the Israelis? Do you remember? Do you remember we did that excellent interview with Rick Wiles on Telpiot, then just never mentioned it again? Do you remember? I looked through your book for the word Telpiot. I couldn't find it. Why is that? I don't know, Whitney. But Whitney apparently couldn't tell you that Microsoft is core-coded in Israel. And if you can't see through that dumb little limited hangout bitch, I can't help you. Kingdom of the planet's #1 operating system. Have you heard anything about it? Think about it. All the hacking. Things like WannaCry, which Boeing admitted had infected their systems all the way to the shop floor. Can you think of any scenarios that derive from that event? All the Boeing stuff is all backdoored. Admitted remote software. Admitted Israeli Jewish companies.
We're at 26,000 feet. We are in a vertical dive. Not a dive yet, but we've lost vertical control of our airplane.
Boeing uses all Windows-based computing, as does almost the entire corporate world, from the White House to the Pentagon to virology research labs. Come on, who talks about it? Oh, not when there is flat Earth and 5G coronavirus to talk about. Microsoft Azure cloud computing growing exponentially. Microsoft Office Cloud. Depressed. That's all Microsoft Israel under a former Israeli military intelligence officer, Asaf Rappaport, who recently retired in December 2019. We believe he was retired after our lobbying, and we don't mean Facebook. Come on, everyone. Why didn't Whitney tell you who Asaf Rappaport is? He's back in the business now, I might add. Graduate of Unit 8200 in Telpiot. Whitney Webb won't say his name, like Whitney Webb will not say Zohar Zissapel, Yehud Zissapel, and Red Group. She won't say it. None of them will say it. Peter Palantir, see, do you understand the limited hangout? That's its essence. Palantir. Oh, there appears to be a stuff on psychologically profiling Americans. Oh, thank you, Whitney or Tucker Carlson or Glenn Greenwald. I'm sorry? Did you not miss Shadowgate? General Jim Jones? Isn't that more interesting? The Marine General, head of NATO? Robert Steele knows? Robert David Steele with good old, as I exposed in Rats in the Ranks, good old, Roger Stone. Jim Jones is his son as well, same name. And Patrick Berge exposed how they were all together. Robert David Steele wrote the memoir for General Al Gray, who founded the Marine Psychological Warfare Training Center. He wrote books for CIA, FBI. His daughter, Beth Ann Steele, is the FBI freaking public relations. Can you see how it's all tied together? But no one's talking. I mean, Millie Weaver, Gavin Wentz, Patrick Berge, they told us about these companies. They're private, corporatized companies. They're privatized. They're spying. It's not fucking GCHQ or Palantir. Why don't you tell us about General Jim Jones? For fuck's sake. People can't see it. This is the serious.
That name Jim Jones is that one name that I brought up the other day. And that woman in the Kay Griggs interview, as I was saying, the guy that I know served under that Jim Jones, and let's just say he has very, very close knowledge of everything.
DIA, you name it. Azure Cloud, where do you think that's fucking core-coded?
Nation's most critical data assets in the cloud. Azure Government Secret opens up a
Doge. God help us, Doge. Oh.
a place that nobody's been able to get into and invest in.
Secret will enable us to take applications in legacy IT environments and start to move those into a much more scalable platform. This will be a great opportunity to really modernize services and make those more efficient and effective for our defense customers.
And we can take Azure services into the secret realm that clients have been wanting access to.
Microsoft has edge capabilities available now and planning to be available in secret that are just game changers.
They're looking for new and innovative ways to achieve information superiority, but still have the compliance and security mandates. Azure Government Secret introduces new capabilities to unlock the power of that data.
There's been a push to get into secure cloud environments, really being able to provide these organizations with the type of on-demand availability that they really need to do their jobs. Having the power of Azure Secret behind us really gives us that infinite scalability.
Microsoft has been a strong cybersecurity solution provider to the market. Having Azure Secret Cloud is extremely important for our DoD customers and for their mission.
And no longer do they have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars building out classified environments within their facilities and paying for properly securing those environments.
Azure Secret will give us flexibility, speed to market, and computing options for customer in the IC and DoD, where we did not have one before. And this is exciting for both us and for Microsoft.
Hilarious. And with what you know now, if you're new to this...
Oh, by the way, I'll try to find it while he's still talking. If you guys don't know about this, Microsoft in Microsoft 11 or Windows 11 has a thing where it constantly takes a picture of your desktop and everything on your screen and then stores it. And you can turn it off. While he's still talking, I'm going to see if I can find that video on how to disable that.
And so, oh, he's threatening to kill people. I'm fucking had enough. I've been at this 15 fucking years. 16 years. 16. Listen to this bit. The head of Microsoft, what he's about to say.
My dad is an economist, leftist, Marxist. My mom was a Sanskrit drama professor.
The same Israeli teams at Microsoft Israel will be handling the Pentagon cloud security from Israel. Oh joy, watch my channel, please. Tell me you get it. And then the most advanced Intel CPU designs and fabrication. Not in Chandler, Arizona. No, they're in Israel. I mean, this is a massive national security issue. And Intel is a disaster, with AMD and Taiwan Semiconductor streaking ahead. The lead toolshed of the fourth industrial revolution. Cloud computing, 5G, robots and drones, AI and quantum computing, 100 miles from China. Designed in Israel, manufactured in China. Why do you think China keeps screaming it wants Taiwan? And despite the United States being the fountainhead from which so much of this technology comes, no one in the United States seems seriously bothered to stop the technology transfer, especially from Israel. How can they? The American and Israeli high technology sectors appear almost totally intertwined. massive American high-tech companies. Applied materials is very important to understand. That's the you hardly ever hear about. And then Cadence Design and those other companies just mentioned. This is where the rubber meets the road. These are doing exotic materials. That's what they're really going to get out of this AI, and they can simulate the universe. Then they can do all sorts of testing within a computer. They don't have to spend $20 billion on massive infrastructure on some new factory or 10 years of testing. AI could be the blessing, an absolute blessing, or it is literally going to destroy us. It's up to us. Like Applied Materials and Cadence Design Systems are the very core of the world's high technology world. Cut off China from them and it's all over. 2021 I made this. It's just one stroke of the presidential pen, but again, to be fair, it is a little bit more complicated than that. You know, love or hate Donald Trump, he's actually the president of the United States. He's not running a YouTube channel. So we get it. It is 5D chess in that sense. And China is tit for tat as so much... Oh, sorry, this was 2020. That's right, it's mid-2020. That's right, I wasn't long in Mexico. This is mid-2020, 5 years ago. ...is done there, and it's threatening to cut off the United States. You can thank Henry Kissinger. Again.
President Putin is my best friend and colleague.
Best friend?
This friendship shows the high level of bilateral ties and close strategic coordination.
This is the video, or at least this is the one I think it is. This is the channel. It's this guy right here. Stop using Windows, and it kind of guides you through basically how to disable some of the features. His channel right here, that's his @Sammy dash. I'll just copy and paste that and put it into the chat.
Between our two countries. Just now, I had candid and fruitful talks with President Putin. We exchanged views on bilateral ties and major issues of international and regional concerns, and reached major consensus. We signed and published 2 major statements, and witnessed the signing of multiple documents of cooperation. I, together with President Putin, reviewed our country's joint achievements in the last 70 years. We have the consensus that China-Russia ties are at its best in history and can enjoy new opportunities for development.
But don't worry, Ted Cruz has the answer. More cooperation with Israel. Please laugh at these quotes from the Jewish Journal reporting on a hardcore neocon Jewish Institute for National Security of America. This is basically BB's baby. Quote, "We saw just how problematic that supply chain is in the midst of this pandemic," he said, citing a state-controlled newspaper in China, stating the Chinese government would cut off medication from the US if the Trump administration took action against China over the pandemic. That would not merely be economic warfare, that would be real warfare, Cruz added. Cruz said he has been warning for years that China is the United States' chief geopolitical rival, accusing China of stealing US military technology to avoid research and development costs. Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. I'll go on. Never before in the history of the world has a nation-state employed an intellectual property theft as a strategy integral to their national defense, he argued. Sorry, I'm still trying not to laugh. The Texan also pointed to the Chinese government putting millions of Uyghur Muslims into concentration camps as reason to decouple from China, as well as China's Belt and Road Initiative of offering cheap and easy credit for governments worldwide to invest in infrastructure. Cruz argued that the BRI, or the Belt and Road Initiative, has caused governments to take on debt they are unable to pay back to China, giving the Chinese government economic...
Earlier we were talking about the gold thing. That was Bretton Woods, is what I was, because I always confuse it with the Belt and Road. Bretton Woods is when they removed us from the gold standard.
Leverage over those countries. Quote, "That threat is enormous," Cruz said. If you've been keeping up, you know how funny that all is. And I guess China's been taking lessons from the World Bank and the IMF in how to get economic leverage over countries. I'm sorry. This is so funny. It's hilarious. Anyway. You know war is coming. I mean, it's coming. June, August, God willing, Rothschild's bastard sons in Netanyahu, Putin and Xi will go the way of the dinosaurs, and finally, maybe someone might push Henry Kissinger down the stairs along with the entire board of the CFR and Trilateral Commission. And then hostile foreign lobby groups like APAC, the Royal Institute for International Affairs, Chatham House, and all the damn think tanks we can think of will be seen for what they are. Hostile, subversive, banker-funded intelligence operations whose sole aim is to use the United States as a battering ram to set up Rothschild central banks and prepare the planet for the global domination of AI, centered in Israel. Well, hopefully the US 5th and 6th fleets won't fall off the flat earth before they take on China and keep Taiwan Semiconductor out of the hands of Xi Jinping and the gang. That's a joke, by the way. Look, the links are below. The links to Tim at abledanger.blogspot.com. He goes into much of this, and we'll see you again soon.
My dad is an economist, leftist, Marxist.
Perhaps you can understand.
That's Fred Smith's picture. Isn't that right, Joseph Davies? I love this. Yuri Andropov, KGB master spy. When I was a lad in the KGB, we had to leave the office and go out in the cold, spend years setting up specialist operations and spend billions of rubles. Vladimir Putin was the laziest of my students.
The cloud. This is America.
Respect, Papa Bear, but this ain't the 70s. It all rolls downhill into my email. Relax.
What I'm whipping now.
Tranquilo.
This is America. Don't get you.
Go dancing, robot. Go.
Don't get you flipping now.
Oh, that was when I used to have fun doing this. Not anymore. Time to move on.
Don't get you flipping now. Look how I'm living now.
5 years ago. 5.
Yeah, this is America.
I can't wait till I'm 5 years down the road in this, and I've just completely warped my mind. God, goals, right?
Under my area. I got the strap.
Woo! There we go. Those were the days. The links are all below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The links are below. So, have that Qualcomm watch that whole video. It's about 15-20 minutes worth watching. So, as you see, all this development going into Saudi, into the newly federated states of Greater Israel incoming. And I'll tell you the secret. The secret is this. Number one, you can contact Mary Silva and her excellent work in front of 300 Republicans and ask yourself why it's taken this long to work out that Israel is a Soviet GRU City of London program. Why? We can start to ask those big questions. We can also ask about this coming up right now. And this crap. Total, absolute bollocks. Glenn Greenwald, the truth about Epstein, Jack Takpa's humiliation, an insane new push to nuke Gaza.
On the topic of Epstein, by the way, I grew up in Miami, and my grandma's house was just down the road from... on an island just downtown from, yeah, we'll just see how this pans out. Yep. I grew up going to my grandma's house a lot, and she lived on an island just down the road from the Miami Herald. And I didn't think about it until today, but the Miami Herald was supposedly who Mike Cernovich collaborated with to go and release the articles on Epstein that kind of like went public. And I think it wasn't too long after that the Miami Herald was a really big building. It was like right on the water, very famous. And used to see it like it is a huge fucking building. I mean, it was a really big newspaper. And somehow all of a sudden they just went bankrupt when the internet like started taking off and people weren't buying newspapers. But yet all these other major journalist outlets stayed around. And it's kind of interesting that like not only did they go bankrupt, but they completely demolished the building. It's not even there anymore. I'm pretty sure it's been like replaced by a fucking giant skyscraper. I don't know if those things are completely correlated, but it's just kind of odd timing of events that a long-standing big outlet like that, after that story was released, just went kaput.
Well, they've all come out, oh my God, this genocide is just terrible. Tucker comes out and says, oh my God, oh my God, you know, when I worked out that Iraq was a lie on the weapons of mass destruction, I came out and said so and apologized in 2023, not 2003, 2023. So once you understand Chris Boleyn, once you understand the greats, Professor Israel Shahak, Jewish religion, Jewish history, the weight of 3,000 years, the Israeli, you do realize he's an Israeli professor of chemistry at Bar Ilan University, and he's lived in Israel since he was 18, and yet he translated the Ode de Genome plan into English. No one killed him. Do you understand how diverse Israel is? How diverse? There's actually a lot of freedom there. That's why people say, hey, you're not going to Israel for political asylum. Oh, well, who knows? But you don't know Israel, clearly. It's freaking, it's under siege. That's why they have to have Arab terrorism to keep the population in line until they're ready. They're not ready, but it seems that someone in the US has forced the hand. And now we see the genocide. And it's not going to stop. It's going to go right the way through. Remember how many of you, you're wrong, O'Connell, again, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, let's watch Hezbollah and Hamas get wiped out. And what do you know? Nearly there. Did your spicy pumpkin lattes help? Nope. The limited hangout does this. They say tokenism will drag us all to hell. I'm telling you, the limited hangout and the controlled release will drag us all to hell until you start getting pissed off about it. You need to get pissed off and angry. I'm not here to fucking entertain you. You have to get pissed off. You want to know where to start? Mary Silver. She got up in front of 300 top Republicans. She got 12,000 votes, and she was messed with in terms of they had all sorts of scammers in there, like putting up fake runs, robbing her of another 12,000. She could have come in easily third. 12,000 residents of Seattle, Washington State, Seattle, voted for Mary Silver. She hangs out with all the Republicans, ladies, clubs, they kiss her butt. The head of Microsoft Physical Security took her out to lunch. Green Beret, Semi-Bird, CIA, hung out. They all went out to lunch together. I'm tired though, people. Stop contacting me. And then saying, but I'm not going to mention your fucking name. You're not paying me enough. I got $3,000 to my fucking name. I don't want any publicity. I don't give a fuck. I want 3.8 million fucking US dollars. I am fucking exhausted. And I'm just tired of it. My interest is healthcare, not to be a little YouTube entertainer. I could do that, but I don't want to do it. I'm much more interested in healthcare. Be all you can be. Carl Jung, individuation, self-actualization. Know thyself, natal charts, astrology, all sorts of know thyself techniques, kinesiology, acupuncture, massage. Should all be done in the churches. To know God, to be a living stone of the church, theology. That's what I'm interested in. I am sick of this fucking subject. Pay me out. You pay all your other fucking whores. All you'd be doing is paying me to shut up and go away. I'd delete everything. Don't care. Never speak to anyone about it again. Don't fucking care. Pay me out. That's how fucking far. The only reason that keeps me going a little bit is just I want to be around so I can fucking be a thorn in the flesh and a burdensome stone in these whores. They're not mistaken. It's not an accident. They are actors taking literal orders, including Glenn fucking Greenwald, the bullshit artist. Who, you know, I don't even know where to begin. Glenn Greenwald travels to Edward Snowden with Laura Petraeus, but 2 weeks before they go, the big mystery, no one who is in Hong Kong. Where is he? Edward Snowden. Oh my goodness, no one could find him. Ends up in fucking Russia, amazingly, with Julian Assange, the KGB asset. Israel is the key in Kissinger to understand how that all took place. And then, listen to this. It's in Glenn Greenwald's book. I've listened to the audiobook and I went, what? And he says, he gets Laura Petraeus, and because they were worried about getting effed over, they'd got a top secret document, finally, out of Snowden, via the encryption. Remember, the NSA knows everything, but didn't know this. They get the top secret document. You know, Snowden's emailing them, please learn encryption. I'm a high-level whistleblower, but NSA missed it. So they get a top secret document. They go to the Washington Post editor on national security issues, the chief writer, sorry. That's literally the CIA. They are like James Bamford tells me more. That guy is a literal hack for the CIA and the NSA. Admittedly, he's their outlet. He tells me more than Whitney fucking Webb and Glenn Greenwald. James Bamford. I'm not angry against him. He's exposed more than these people combined.
Sorry, just a bit of humor. Just to look at where I started at making videos. Just recording this shit up online.
Somebody in that motherfucker? How he still over there? Oh, why he flew out the motherfucker? What the fuck?
That's one of the most crazy videos. That's how I started my channel. God damn.
But people, they don't even know who James Bamford is. I've got all his fucking lectures. I guess maybe I have to start on that. But Glenn Greenwald is giving the document and saying, look, we're worried. We're going to get in the shit. We want the protection of the Washington Post and all your connections into the intelligence community. And we want you to fund the trip 2 weeks before they go. We've got a top-level NSA whistleblower and want you to fund the trip and give us some legal protection. We're worried we could get in the shit. And 2 days later, the chief writer for the national security section of the Washington Post comes back and says, no, we're not going to have anything to do with it. Hands the document back, and that was it. 2 weeks later, they're in Hong Kong. But the NSA and the CIA and the DIA and the WANK-IA and the ONI, none of them bothered to follow the clown show, all well known to intelligence, to Hong Kong. Do you understand? It's like Qatar. Hamas, Qatar, 5-star hotel, American airbase. Simple, 2 + 2 = 4. You see how none of this adds up until you understand Kissinger and Associates, City of London networks. How good people within those agencies were going, let's go, let's follow them. And the supervisor went, no, leave it. It's under control. We got someone else on it, just like Dave Fresca did, head of the Muslim Fundamentalist Unit, when 5 separate investigations by good FBI, grassroots agents on the ground said, oi, there's suspicious Arabs learning to fly at private aircraft in flight schools.
And as I said before, my aunt who ended up losing her mind for a while and being gang stalked, that I thought just went crazy, was one of those people that the terrorists went and asked for flight instructions or flight schools from.
And they're up to...
And then immediately she started getting harassed.
A terrorist attack. And they were told to leave it. And that's exactly what happened after Greenwald and all the rest went in. Good people went, right, let's go. We got a whistleblower. And their supervisors say, no, it's okay. We've got it under control. Leave it. And they're all sitting there seething. They're on our side. So move. What do you think? They love Mary Silver. Look, they love me. But yeah, I'm trying to ask you something. I am tired now. I played this game long enough. I'm an ordinary person. You need to pay me out before something bad happens, all right? You need to pay me out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you carry on. Thank you to all those long-termers. Basically, if you cancel now, I block you forever. You're never coming back. That's what I do now. So there's a method to my I want to kill everyone madness. I want to just get rid of the shallow fuckers. I just want my hardcores here. All right? And we'll talk again very, very soon. Thank you again for all your support. Remember, get a dog up here. Talk soon. Talker.
All right. Let me put on. We'll watch a little bit more of that. That Catherine, or I'm sorry, that Kay Griggs interview. Let me find that.
Stand Christians.
So we left off around, yep, this is where we left off. And let me turn up the volume for her because she was kind of quiet.
And he knew I was a worker, so...
This one is Kay Griggs interviews, and basically she goes on a very long tirade about how she was married to an abusive alcoholic that was high in the intelligence, and goes on to tell us about how pretty much everyone in intelligence is gay and fake.
They hired me to go over to the World Trade Center, the Virginia Port Authority. I had an office in there.
Yep, you've welcome everyone. Welcome Edward Kent. This is Dark Web Pedo Channel 101, and feel free to engage with the rest of the pedo dark web channel.
And Jerome Weiner, what's interesting is Mary Clark Halab worked for him.
Okay.
The girl who had my job, who was a normal woman like me, because there were a few who were not so normal, like Bobby Bray. Not the Bobby Bray who ran the Port Authority, but another Bobby Bray. He was very nice, but he was a known homosexual who worked with Weiner. But his secretary was pushed out of a window. Now, it was all hushed up.
Of course, she committed suicide.
And if you remember also, this lady talked about how her husband's first wife was murdered, and she started to have suspicions that maybe it was him.
Yeah, this was a young mother who had a baby who knew too much about his money laundering. I reported the money laundering that Book and Weiner. Now, this is a professor, head of international programs at Old Dominion University, Jerry Weiner, whose father was very high up in this Zionist group. Jerry Weiner was doing intelligence work in Algeria, in Morocco in particular. He organized this board that I was the secretary for. He was a very sick, mean guy. I mean, you talk about really water.
What was I doing? Oh, I was looking for my inappropriate
Mace
videos.
was on the board, and there was a banker on the board.
We can take a break.
And take a break.
Yeah, don't, did you stop it yet? No, don't stop it. We'll just leave these synchronized. And is your wife getting a cup?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was thinking I could use a little
But
bit.
Gustavo...
Do you need to use the restroom or anything?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm thirsty. But Gustavo, I love the guy. He was from Colombia. He was in Virginia National Bank, which is now Nations Bank. And, you know, I didn't put him, because I had studied Latin American history under a wonderful Dr. Blossom. I knew a lot of stuff about Latin America and Nariño and how Panama became a part of our country. And, you know, now, I mean, I understand it was drugs and running things through and everything, but Gustavo was in charge of all the laundering that was going on in Virginia National Bank in the port. And where did he go after that? He went to Florida. And he introduced me to Ana Maria Quintero, whose brother was one of the big mobsters. I mean, the big, you know, Colombian. You know, I met Ana Maria Quintero. See, I don't forget some things like this. That's why they don't like me, because I imprint on wonderful foreign people. I want to know them. I want to send Christmas cards and
Essentially, you're basically watching me dive deeper and deeper into madness as I explore the most awful things that are still allowed to be on YouTube. And then I present them to you and hopefully can drag you down with me.
And it's not very good to have somebody like a little magnet. I'm sort of like a Monica, you know, she's seeking out sex with important guys. I'm wanting to meet people like that from different cultures because I want to learn about them, because that's what Christ said. You go out and you minister to the people who are foreigners. You don't just spend your time necessarily with the home people. You need your home people as a base. But you need to go out and find out truth and spread goodness everywhere. Truth is goodness. Truth is light. And that's what Christ is all about. You're not afraid to learn truth. You're not.
Thank you.
You know, all these cathedrals and things that were built in his honor. Why? He was wonderful. Why was he wonderful? Not because he...
You're going to have to be more specific, you limey, Bongland. What about us Yanks are so stupidly stupid? because we're stupid, we don't understand your sentence.
He hung around a little group, but because he was out trying to. He told the big guys, look, stop being bullies and cowards. Let the poor people into your church. Everybody, God gives us all a unique spirit. Our timing is different. Everybody's fingerprints are different, eyes are. We have the right to read the Gospels.
Yeah.
They shouldn't keep the Bible from us.
That's right.
The church is not a political organization where you've got.
By the way, Edward, I'm assuming you're in Great Britain. How's your recent conversion to Islam? Is that going well for you?
A few little guys up here telling all the mothers what to do. Who were the ones with Jesus Christ at the, on the third day? There was not one disciple there with him. It was the three women. So why are we leaving women out? Women, in Scotland at least, my culture, we're partners with our men. We need the authority of a husband. We want a strong moral husband. But what is that passage, about the good wife?
Oh, I found the video I wanted to show you.
Proverbs, virtuous woman.
Yes, yes. And she's buying and selling property.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God.
She's
All right.
doing everything.
Hold on a second. Let me
So
pull this
why
up.
keep her?
God damn it. Hurry up and load. You're killing me here. There we go. And of course.
Strike to claim it. A strike to claim it. And he got it! Are you kidding me? That's right! Who do you think you are?
I am.
Why keep her at home barefoot and pregnant?
People dying. How very
and
funny.
not being able to read and speak 3 languages, and welcome all the foreigners and to come in. Hey, that's what Jesus Christ would be doing if he were right here. He would be here right with me, saying, "Go for it, little woman." I'm giving you the strength to tell the daggone truth. And if you get killed tomorrow, you're going up there.
You're gonna live forever.
That's right.
Well, now these, you mentioned when you get to be a bird colonel, and they have this initiation that involves all this sexual debauchery.
Yeah.
Now, would
Drinking first.
get them good and drunk.
Oh, big time drunk.
Because there would be some of these who, if they were sober, they wouldn't go through with it.
Couldn't go through with it.
They'd have to be blasted.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And now, do you suppose? I don't know. Your husband maybe told you. When they go through all this stuff that they do, are there people there gathering information?
Of course.
Intelligence on them.
Of course, the chaplains are intelligence. In Nazi Germany, that you had to tell on your parents, or in the Soviet Union, they encourage you to tell on your parents.
Oh.
Phil Holwager, the guys who go to Yale, who become chaplains, the chaplain corps is tell all the tales on everybody. They have
Well, that's why we need you, Edward, here to make us more intelligent and brief us on your great culture of, what is it you guys eat? Faggots and mash?
elections agencies. These Marines are ordered to go and collect so-and-so at so-and-so. If a Marine tells truth, if he's a whistleblower, if the wife is too much trouble, they collect them, they throw them in, they fill them full of chemicals, they'll implant little things in them. I believe that my husband has an implant.
Well, McVeigh said he had a chip implant.
I believe George did. Now ask yourself, all right, George, I know George has had a male friend.
So 1 in 1,000 in the UK are Muslim. But how did that go again? Didn't you guys have a a certain gang of certain people that you guys were too afraid to open your mouths about that turned a little 13-year-old girl into kebab, and they hid it for decades, and because they were too afraid to admit it. These are just questions we're asking. I just want to know more about your highly evolved society.
He has male friends.
Your husband.
I'm going to get some more Dr. Pepper Goy
Yes,
slop.
he's bisexual. And I was told that by colonels and a captain, by a psychiatrist.
What percentage do you think of these higher up people are bisexual?
Oh, all of them. If they're in special operations, if they're Marines, they're all bisexuals. They've all had to do it in order to get to be a bird colonel. The SEALs, it's kind of like the fast road to the top.
So a guy could not be a SEAL without having.
Oh, I don't believe so. I haven't met one that I don't believe would have done it. And judging from what a couple of colonels told me, it's just, that's the norm. It's just you women, you know, y'all are so sissy, y'all are just, you know, you don't understand how it is. We're under so much pressure. And when Valerie Wilhelm told me that about Charlie, I just could not believe.
Charlie Wilhelm would be a.
He's a general now down in Miami, and she was just saying, oh well, you know, he's running around. He has to, she said. He's under so much pressure. And I just and she was saying that of course I had met Charlie in Norway. And Charlie is sort of someone my husband just idolizes. And and Michael O'Boyle is another one. Michael is my husband's special friend. And when my husband retired, we went to Al Gray's office. This was a traumatic thing for me. It was a really weird day.
I do love some faggots. Nothing like a good faggot.
Douglas. And my son
Good old beefy faggot.
We went
Chomp
to
right
the
down on a
commandant's
good,
office.
delicious beefy faggot.
They had, you know, something to nibble on and eat, and you know, just a little something. And his wife Jan came over from 8th and I Street, the commandant's house, with her dogs. She sleeps with stuffed animals and dogs. I don't think there's any love-making that goes on with Al Gray and his wife, quite honestly, and neither do the colonels. She is a wonderful, sweet person, scared to death. She worked for his intelligence organization, and then she supposedly took care of his mother. And then they married, you know, because he would not have made it. Everybody knew he was a homosexual, not a bisexual. This is a homosexual commandant. I talked to people who actually, one woman.
I can't wait till, if I continue doing these streams, that I can't wait to continue doing all these streams and just end up just losing my mind and just leaving the camera on and just end up getting blasted naked or getting caught jerking off and then having my entire life ruined. That's where this streaming life just ends.
Who went to one of the parties. She was French. And she married a naval officer. And it was when George and I were first married, and I told George about what she said about General Gray. She said, you cannot believe this man is totally debauched. This man does these group sex orgies outside of Marseille, France. He's just horrible. You know. She said, now I have to admit, I was party girl, you know, went to these parties and so forth. But what would happen is, and I met a guy in the laundromat.
Actually, you're right. Yep. I've said so many awful things online, and it really wouldn't even matter. I could just be streaming naked, and people would be just like, yeah, I mean, that's the least of my concerns with that guy.
Who was very, very, he was enlisted, and he was involved in Beirut, And he knew my husband. He was going back and forth from Gaeta to the New Jersey, the ship, and then, you know, into Beirut on the beach and everything. And he worked for an admiral. Now this is a big admiral. And the admiral would go to these parties at this big mansion outside of Marseille. What they did was they invited the wild girls, the secretaries, because this went on in Indonesia. My husband had a secretary. Anne Bouchou's husband, Hank, was sleeping with the secretary. My husband was sleeping with the secretary and Anne Bouchou. They were doing, because my husband's wife wasn't there, so they had their maid.
It's interesting that that lady we were watching, Dr. Catherine Horton, the one that believes that she's getting her mind blasted by microwaves and a targeted individual, did mention about how, like, these guys would have these secretaries work for them and then basically sleep with them, so that basically brought them in on whatever little nefarious things they were doing, and they would have to be involved with it.
Ménage à quatre. And of course, my husband was sleeping with Anne Bouchou, who's now, he says, a lesbian, you know, but he was sleeping with her, and, you know, called her right after his wife died, the night, you know. And I found the telephone numbers and, you know, her address and her birthday and all these letters he was writing.
Isn't there a disease that runs rampant with these people?
Yeah, yeah. So, but Al Gray, this guy, would guard the parties. Now, how does that make a young guy feel who's got a child? He's guarding an orgy with Israelis. There were Israelis at these parties.
Guys, we have a showstopper right here. Edward Kent is dropping some knowledge bombs about how the BBC is actually extremely right-wing and not at all left-wing, and doesn't further out this propaganda of multiculturalism and integration. Everyone pay attention to him and listen to him.
Intelligence people. Intelligence? There's not intelligence there. There's perversion. There's psychological, you know. These guys are abnormal. They're adolescent. They're not full, complete people. They can't have normal. Anyway. So he's guarding the parties, and he says, the secretary, the girls come in, they stay till about 11. They're all nude, all nudists. The Earls, Jim and Nancy Earl, my husband, Ty Kroll, most of the chiefs, nudists. Makes it easier, you know, to see the little, you know, it's terrible.
They're nudists in the sense that...
Yeah, they're nudists.
Okay, so they have whatever.
Freedom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
Freedom.
It's really kind of religious, isn't it?
Yeah.
With them.
Yeah. But the girls, the women leave at about 11 o'clock. This is what he said. I mean, I knew the girls were there because I'd already talked to the French girl. And he said, well, you know, what they do is the women leave at about 11 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock, and the guys all stay around there. And it's just the ritual. This is what they do. So, and then I found out.
These are the guys that send their boys to war.
Yeah, these are the big guys. Then I found out, because my husband...
You can tell I'm getting tired because I'm getting a little bit more goofy. And I know this is some hot erotica stuff. Does it remind you of the swingers stories that I've told? Yep. I think you've probably heard them. But I was thinking of being such a fucking goofy retard and telling Edward that all of his opinions are backwards because he's on the southern hemisphere with his upside down British UK ideas.
Would mention this guy and that guy, you know, that he went to school with. Bob Edwards is involved with this stuff. But the guy who recruited him, Charles Caddick, who was a well-known homosexual, who was the, quote, head teacher but the bodyguard for the Saudi boys. See, the Saudi boys were encouraged to do this, to corrupt them. They were corrupting Muslims who would not have done this ordinarily. The parties at Aramco, they would give the young boys, get them really drunk, and encourage Muslim sons to do this kind of stuff.
You know, actually, what's interesting about what she just said is if you guys, Brendan O'Connell, we were just watching, we've kind of been all over the place, but she was just talking about these guys traveling over and banging Muslim boys. What's his name? Macron, his wife, who is definitely not a man and definitely not related and definitely not his uncle or his actual biological father. Like I said, definitely not, had her portrait made to specifically include a book that was mainly focused on the basically the cohort of a guy traveling to the Middle East to bang young Muslim boys who you would think would be very odd to include in your portrait, that you really want to stand out and make that known and have some odd quotes attributed to yourself about loving people that maybe shouldn't be loved in that way.
Muslim sons who would have a strong tendency toward morality.
Yes.
And to abhor this kind of
That's right.
But if they could get them drunk and loaded enough that they...
Yeah, don't confuse dancing boys with dancing Israelis. I made that mistake, and oh boy, was my dick confused.
They would do this one time. Yes. Then they would gain a controlling edge on these guys.
And who do you think did it? Charles Caddock and Borland, these guys, Alexander Robinson, Cheeseborough, who was the headmaster. The Saudis bought Russell House at the Hun School in Princeton. They brought over Mohammed Faisal and, Saud, Khalid Saud. They didn't really go to classes or whatever. And who was the young man who was partying with him? My husband, George Griggs. Who was in the group with him? Einstein. My husband was partying with Albert Einstein. I said, well,
Could you imagine? Your life ended up in a situation where you're banging a bunch of young Muslim boys, and in the middle of the orgy, you look up, and there's Albert Einstein.
And when would this have been? At what age in his life?
52, 53, 54, 55. I believe he said that Mohammed came over in 54. It was right after the murder, the poisoning of the one who was really good.
Okay. So your husband would have been a young guy, 18, 19 years old?
Oh, he was only, when they first got to him, he was in high school, so he was ninth grade.
And he would be there?
He was at the school with these homosexuals. They sent his parents to California. Got him a little Boy Scout job, his father. He didn't see his parents for 8 solid years. And this is amazing.
I see. So then the transference is these people become your parents. They're the ones.
Are the boys in Morocco just that good? Is it like they have a sommelier of boys, and you have your good Chilean wines, you have some good Californian wines, maybe you're more into the Italian or French wines. You go over to Morocco and you get that really good Morocco boy.
What you look up to?
Yeah, but they're doing things to you.
Sure. They're sodomizing you.
Of course.
And Albert Einstein was
in that homosexual group, bisexual group.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Camus. Sartre.
I'm just going to say it with everything that she just said. I now am convinced that the earth is flat. space is fake and gay, and dinosaurs do not exist. I felt like I needed to interject with that.
Now, Camus did not, I don't believe my husband actually met Camus, but Camus was a lover of his French teacher in Princeton. Not Todeve, not the one who helped him with his paper whom he had an affair with. And I was told that by normal roommates whom he had later on and by another roommate. They knew George was doing this stuff. George was, he was a cheerleader. He was a French major.
Were there any other young teenagers from that particular setting
yes.
that were also being cultivated?
Bob Edwards, who's a Marine Corps colonel, was part of that group. And my husband met with Bob Edwards in high school. Bob Edwards went on to Fort Benning. He was in psychological warfare. In fact, he was involved with the subterfuge in after I was injured and my husband socked me in the breast, and I had to have surgery because he'd already broken a leg, and I was starting to document the violence.
This woman really is a keeper. I mean, she really is a keeper.
But I'm such an upfront person, and all I wanted him to say was, "I'm sorry, Kay, I did this." But I was trying to do, like they said Rosie Greer did, you put a mirror, if you're battering your wife, you put a mirror up in front of yourself or a photograph, and you try to imprint the lower brain, because I wanted to save his soul. I mean, this guy had murdered his first wife, battered her to death. I mean, he dragged her body back. I mean, it was just, Sue.
Don't we all have skeletons in the closet? I mean, you're kind of being judgmental.
Had a cerebral hemorrhage. That's too much for me to get into. But he was doing that to me, and I stopped him from drinking, thinking this would stop the battering. But I started taking notes, taping things, while he'd go in these rages, because I wanted somebody to know. I wanted somebody to help me so I wouldn't die. And I'd had surgery, I'd had broken bones, and I was trying to reach out for some help. And so I was trying to get him to realize what he was doing to me. And I told him, I said, "George, I know you did this to Sue. Do you really want me dead? This is..." So, but he started getting scared, and he was cool.
Did he ever admit to you that he was responsible for his first wife's death?
He came, he said, he admitted that they didn't get along. He admitted that he didn't love her.
That he battered her.
He admitted that he'd hurt her. He admitted that he dragged her body back after she supposedly collapsed at dinner. Now this is a 200-pound woman, she's huge, because she's not happy. She's sleeping with her dog. She doesn't sleep with her husband because he's too busy sleeping with other people. He doesn't find her attractive. He's sleeping with Nancy Earl, and I mean, it's just the most crazy. And she loves him because he's handsome. And what is she going to do? She's never worked a day in her life. Her mother loves him. It's like me. Who would believe you that a handsome, wonderful guy, oh, but George is so nice. So, and this is what the wives go through. They know that it'll be hard. So, the guys just, what George did was, he had clout in the State Department, and they knew that I just loved showing people around. So he would plan something that I just had to do. I would be hooked, like a hook and a fish. And he had some dignitaries who came over from, where did they come from? They were parliamentarians from, I think these were from one of the Latin American countries, Panama. And of course we had to go to Richmond. So I had to stay overnight with them, and George didn't want to go with me. And it just so happened that Bob Edwards, his Army colonel friend, invited him to come up and meet with some of the guys. At New Hope, Pennsylvania, or Bucks County, or wherever it was. Well, he had already been talking to Phil Holwager about the abuse because I had gone in for surgery. And I thought it was very unusual that Phil Holwager was there during the surgery, kind of holding George's hand. It wasn't for me. It was to make sure George didn't fall apart, to make sure that the doctor, I didn't say anything when I was under sodium pentothal, you know, covering George's ass, excuse my French. But he was the chaplain at Fleet Marine Force Atlantic and was a
Well, all of the things that she names Edward are true, and then the people and the places are all documented. You said you came over here from some kind of channel, Ren Reacts, so maybe you're not as deep into this kind of stuff. But if you have any questions, we'll be here to answer you and guide you on how your entire world is a lie and run by satanic pedophiles that belong to a certain group that want to create the third temple and manipulate everyone through the Bank of England and hold countries hostage through the IMF. I don't know if I've left anything out, but welcome.
chaplain for Sue's funeral. He knew what George had done. And he runs around on his wife, you know, he's playing golf all the time. He and George were playing golf with this single woman, and I found out, and I said, what do you all, you know, he's the so-called chaplain, and he went to school with Gary Hart. He was a classmate of Gary Hart's at Yale. And, you know, a colleague of Pat Robertson's. That's why he, you know, not the saying that Pat Robertson does that kind of thing. I don't think he does. I'm sure he doesn't, but they went to Yale and so forth. But so George was a violent man, and he started knowing that I was sort of going to do something. So he started doing certain things. And, you know, now looking back, I can see why, because of the violence. He wouldn't have been able to use his .45 anymore if he'd been
convicted of battering.
Yeah, he would not have been able to use his
Taco
pistol
Trump is.
anymore. Carry it.
Is this a
So they
name for
wanted to make
Donald
sure
Trump?
that he was
I don't get it.
So the wife has got to go. The wife is way down the totem pole.
Taco Trump. It's maybe some
It
kind
doesn't
of
matter what
euphemism
one,
that I'm
and
not
that's
sure
reason
of
why
what
I'm
that
so
means.
afraid, the Marine wives. And they all talk cryptically, and, you know, they even talk outside the house.
Talk cryptic. There's code words and double meaning words. And what's 10 p.m. Saturday TV?
Oh, okay. It stands for Trump always chickens out. I guess this is some new way of insulting Mr. Trump.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, actually, I think this pretty well sums up.
I'm not in on all the
segment.
lingo.
Is there anything you can think of? I can see where we'll do this again sometime as this develops on. Tomorrow, let's see, tomorrow's Sunday. Monday, what we'll do, is it always, if we make a copy of this, so there's two of these?
Yeah,
in case
sure.
something happens
Absolutely.
to you and yours.
Sure.
Okay, we'll make copies of this stuff tomorrow. Don't lose that.
No. But this is interesting. It talks about sabotage, subterfuge. This is the standard Army book teaching men to lie, cheat, steal, be peeping toms on women. Now, if they don't allow women in there and they can peeping tom all the wives they want, they don't need movies, pornography. They you know, and they go on all the TADs they want.
TAD is a...
Just take off, just tell their wife they're going. And they can lie, because it's all secret. We don't have to tell our wives anything.
And it's intelligence. It's work.
Sounds like living the good life.
Yeah, sure, it's intelligence.
Just man's Man.
It's interesting. But this is really, I mean, this is full of, and this is just a mild SEAL commando T-shirt.
Hold it up to the camera. Yeah. That's a T-shirt that a SEAL would wear.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Leave it up for a minute.
I played Nancy Drew, Miss Marple, and I infiltrated, if that's the word you could use, the SEAL reunion this year. They spent a lot of money showing off, jumping out of helicopters, and probably $100,000 was.
Of course, they're going to keep all the dick sucking secret. You want everyone to know all of our techniques, how to make a man come instantly. We don't need this technology escaping. Do you imagine what the Chinese would do? They start making rub and tugs with our special dick sucking technology. God, I'm getting so sleepy.
I don't know how much, but I mean the military was providing funds for this little game.
We have fun here
at Fort Story. Yeah. And then there was, each one of the teams has T-shirts, which all sexual.
Yeah.
All about. I mean, think about every weapon.
The driving motivation
is sexual.
Of all this stuff is
go for it.
Yeah.
So I went to the party. I took my life in my hands. I called a couple of friends and said, if I don't come back, I'm at the SEAL party, and I'm going to pretend that I'm a SEAL wife, and I'm gonna go to this drunken party, and of course I have an Eagle on my car. They try to get me to get rid of it.
So you get access.
So I went in there, and you know that 90% of the people there were men. They didn't have wives. This party.
And the women that were there were probably...
Yeah, a few wives, but feeling very uncomfortable. So I sort of got in with some of the older SEALs.
Has your husband ever mentioned the name of Lieutenant Colonel Bo Greitz?
No, but I know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, technically they are made with a handshake. It's just not, you're not shaking a hand on the other end.
But he has a lot of Army friends, not that he doesn't know Bo Greitz.
That's the secret Navy handshake, is that.
I'm sure that Bo Greitz is well known to some of these guys. Mm-hmm. I believe he's Army.
Could be.
I'm sure he's not a Marine. I know he's not a Marine.
Speaking of Navy pedophiles, I forgot to upload this story at my job. There was a guy that was Navy vet, and I accidentally ruined his life. So he I really ruined his life completely. I was backing up an RV in the shop, and I thought I had enough clearance to make it around this other car that was in there. And I clipped the fucking car with the back of the RV as I was bringing it up on the lift. And that car that was behind it was one that he just sold. It was a used car. And he was just getting it ready to be sold that day. And then later on in the week, he, I guess, tried to undercut the company and tried to paste one of the other techs under the table. And so the other tech was not kind of happy about the way that this was, because he's really by the book. And so he came up to me and starts asking me what's the time this one procedure on an ignition switch should take to replace. And I told him I wasn't sure, I'll look it up, and I couldn't find it. So I asked the guy next to me, who's a 20-year master tech, what his idea of replacing an ignition switch on a certain car was. And apparently that was the one that the tech that he was having an issue with. And so he got all upset, and they had a big fight. And then he tried to pull rank the guy that was selling the used car, and told him that he could have him fired. he's not even a manager or wasn't a manager. He just told him that. So the guy complained to our boss, got him fired. And then literally 2 days later, he's in the news for being arrested for molesting a child. I really fucked that guy's life up in just a matter of a week.
I don't believe he's a Marine.
Okay.
But he's a guerrilla. He's commando.
Yeah. But his name didn't come up as anything in intelligence.
No, my husband was way above Bo Greitz's level. My husband mentioned people like McFarlane and Crow. Crow was his tennis buddy, I think, you know. Haig.
Alexander
Kissinger.
Yeah,
Victor.
I really fucked his day up. That was, not only did I get him, like, fucked him up in that deal of selling that car, then I fucking got him fired by, like, just happened to open my mouth to the wrong person, and then he fucking gets taken down for being a pedophile. What a country. Hi, John Smith. How are you doing?
Dr. Krulak. See, Gray is the control guy. Gray and Joy.
Mm-hmm.
Joy's big guy but Joy lost his job at Morale, Welfare, and Recreation, I believe, because I told somebody, I didn't think he wasn't because of me that he lost his job, but they made him move on somewhere else.
Yeah, I can't believe that she's still alive.
He was at Morale, Welfare, Recreation, which is kind of a money laundering thing. They run all the officers' clubs, all the recreation. It's not a private. It's all run by the military, even though it's supposedly not military. Mm-hmm. And they give the good old boys these jobs. I mean, he was probably earning $200,000.
Are those the same good old boys that were in Morocco? Or are we talking about different good boys?
Their retirement for a colonel, my husband, just the retirement salary was $50,000, $60,000. Then they give them these other jobs, so their income is $200,000, $300,000. Mm-hmm. Now, that is not right.
But it would certainly purchase loyalty.
Oh, definitely. They all get swimming pools behind their house.
Who's ever going to bite the hand that feeds that good?
No, nobody. Dirty business, you know, but all of the captains and all of the admirals know this and wink. And it's sick. It's just really, really, really bad. And this is taxpayer money. Hard working people who are
I can't 3 times speed it.
just wondering where the money is going to come from to pay their taxes. Mothers
It'd be too
of
hard to
children
understand.
who are having to work 2 jobs to feed their 3 children. And they're spending $10 million on phallic-shaped weapons. I went to the Army show just last week. I was up there. They had a hearing on Okinawan rapes a day. You know, they call it a murder rape a day or whatever, you know. Crime a day by Marines in Okinawa. And I went up there. John Connors had a hearing. And they also had the Army show, which I had gone to a couple of years before. And in the basement.
All right, let's see what it sounds like 3 times speed.
They have these 200 or more vendors of weapons.
That's 2 times
Israel
speed.
has a joint venture. IAI has a joint venture with TRW, TWR that does all the
No, I can't do that.
on Americans. Now, they have the computers together. The Israelis stole the whole INSLAW system and sold it back to the Justice Department. And there were murders over that. Mike Fuller knows all. Mike Fuller was a former assassin who's talking, and they are after him. Believe me, I met him through Sarah. He and
what about this Victor Marchenko? You're pictured with him. What's
Yeah,
that one?
well, he is a typical example of the mercenary who is brought over from Czechoslovakia, Poland, Romania, the Eastern Bloc countries, who were actually KGB, double agents.
Oh, Marchenko.
The family, yeah, his family were, yeah, his family came over. They weren't even citizens. In other words, they bring over the young men.
Right.
They work for 5 years and then they become citizens. Now, I'm not saying, I mean, I've read his books. I wanted to meet the guy. He knows George. He knows who George is. I read 2 of his books just to see if it's what George said, you know, to kind of balance, and what these other guys. If you read Marchenko's book, you'll see what my husband, the arrogance. Well, sure, we're going to go into this embassy. You know, we're going to put a whore with this person, and we're going to spy on them and what they're doing, and, you know, we're going to just steal that statue just for the hell of it, you know. I mean, now when you multiply every one of the teams, all the graduates, and think in terms of 100 men applying, and maybe 90 go through most of the training, but they don't quite make it. And then they've got, you know, 400, 600 men who make it, how many don't make it, and then you multiply that over time, and then the ones who are, I mean, this banquet, I mean, this gathering of SEALs that I went to, there were probably 1,000 guys there. Now they have to do a cold kill. You know,
Cold kill.
Kill somebody, murder somebody, just to prove they can do it like ducks.
Wait a minute, the SEALs?
Yeah, SEALs.
So like all 1,000 of these guys have killed
They've
somebody.
done a cold kill, yeah.
Now a cold kill would be a killing under orders?
It's a graduation exercise kind of thing. You know, it's
I mean, who would they kill?
Oh, it's just somebody, just anybody. Just
go
go into a hotel and whack off somebody. You know,
I have a feeling when they were told to go whack off somebody in the hotel room, being in the Navy, some of those guys took that the wrong way.
I was told that for graduation exercises, the greatest thing they could do was to break into a general or an admiral's wife's house and steal some things, you know, personal items. And
to prove that you were good enough to get in
oh,
and
yeah,
out.
oh, yeah. And all of my underwear disappeared, my lingerie, my teddies. And the funny thing is that I don't know whether it was Michael O'Boyle doing it because he was, from 1991 to 1993, Michael O'Boyle was 3 miles away from my husband. He was at his graduation exercise. He was very close to my husband. And yet he was just down the road, and I started questioning my husband about, you know, what is this about you and Michael? You know, what's going on? Well, Michael was there, and my husband never told me he was there, and he saw him all the time. And I'm looking back at when my teddies disappeared, but all this time, now Michael he and his first wife had divorced, that's okay, but he had an affair with a woman and a child, a secretary. So he was having an affair.
God damn it, I'm so evil. She's about to slip off her seat telling these stories.
With a woman, I mean, Michael is both ways, you know what I mean? But in order to get into the system, he sort of did it with my husband. He was my husband's friend, younger friend. And that started when he was in the 7th Fleet under Krulak and Buell in intelligence on the ship. So, but Michael, there he was at Little Creek, my husband's best friend. He never invited him over, but he saw him. So I don't know if you can guess what that means. But the teams, the biological electronic warfare school that after my husband left FMF Land.
She's getting so worked up, hot and horny that she's actually having to drink water to stay hydrated and not slip off the seat.
And he went to the school, you know, the Special Operations School, which ran the teams, foreigners, and everywhere.
Okay, the term MAC-SOG, what does that mean? What is that?
It was a kind of a code word for going out and sending platoons to kill people in Vietnam. SOG is Special Operations Group. Special Operations, SOSS, OSS, Secret Service, SS, Nazi Spetsnaz, the German stormtroopers. They all, if you know anything about the German high command, it's the Brotherhood. It's called...
Edward, no one is making any money off of this either way. No one's paying me. I'm not monetized. And you're sitting here listening to us. I mean, if you have better input, tell us more about how the BBC is an ultra right-wing organization.
They are connected with the Opus Dei, which is an Italian kind of a business group that works within the Vatican. And I'm told...
Well, according to Sunshine, she's still alive.
He's a wonderful guy, but I'm told that he was involved with that during World War II.
I've heard that too.
And that the guy who was the Pope before was murdered so that he could get in.
Now, I'm still curious about the SEALs in this murder thing.
Are we still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, a SEAL, in order to complete his indoctrination, becoming a, quote, full-fledged SEAL, part of that includes the fact he has to have killed somebody.
Yeah.
All right, and it could
SEAL
be...
Team 6, right, the Red Team.
Red Team.
The Ghetto was the captain of that team, and his wife and I had wonderful conversation.
And would she confirm this as well? I mean, did she confirm this
I
with
guess
you?
she would. She's scared. She's frightened. Most of these women are scared to death because they're warned. They know what happened to Sue Griggs.
Okay, so but they support you. I mean,
Yeah.
philosophically, in their hearts at least,
Oh,
not
yeah.
with their lips.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
s-
We talk about it. Some of them have to go out of their house. Some of them won't even talk in the office in which they work. They've had men come by their houses. They've had their papers stolen.
I mean, association with
They're-
you could be the kiss of death.
Yeah. Oh, sure. And they know that. But we talk anyway. And you're talking about some really brave women here. And when I talked to, there are a couple of colonels' wives, and before I went public, you know, they were talking to me, except for Carolyn Millis she turned just like that. She was the one whose house I was in when I told about the go-go dancers in the officers club and me taking the picture and thinking about writing a letter to the wives, and she said, "Oh, you can't do that."
Yeah, but what are you saying what she's saying isn't true? Like, all of it's documented. Like, you can go look it up. All these people she's naming, all this stuff does happen.
You'll ruin George's career. In other words, Carolyn has really bought into the system, and she's very pretty, and she's very influential with the wives group, but she'll turn on you in a second. And it really hurt me because I was, you know, I kind of depended on her and Charlotte Moore. But when I went public, when I started telling people what I knew little bit by little bit just to get my courage, and then when I finally went to visit Sarah McClendon, it was like, You see? I told you. I mean, Sarah McClendon called my house, and they told her it was an army base. I mean, it was a military base, and that the Griggses didn't live there anymore. Ha, ha, ha. See this paper? You know, then I was totally shut off. But until that point, I went in to see Peggy Sheehan.
Yeah, if we're going to be abused by our politicians and they're just going to lie to us anyway, why the fuck are they still sending us these old men who supposedly don't have any power anyway? Why do I have to look at Trump and Biden when we could just bring up more of these, like, Lena Polina or whatever, fucking Anna Polina, these hot chicks with these nice bodies and good titties and ass. And I mean, just, it doesn't matter. Just put hot chicks in bikinis in fucking Congress, and none of this matters anymore.
You know, we had tea and food, and he was the head of NATO, SACLAN, and his wife, Peggy, said, just, Kay, this is so strange. She said, just leave a note on your refrigerator. Yeah, for George. Just leave a note on your refrigerator.
Meaning?
In other words, he's coming in the house. They're coming in the house. It'll get to George. This is SOP, standard operating procedure. You know, just get used to it, used to being battered, used to being...
Well, she was a worshiper of the security of the position, the money and everything, and just don't rock the boat because this is the way it is.
Yeah.
And we don't want it any differently.
No.
I mean, they could
If
desire
you
it
have
more.
to divorce your husband, then, you know, that's just the way it is. But it's cold calculating, and yet so un-American. So un-American. I know what Americans like because everybody in my family were, you know, World War II. My brother was a briefer for the SACLAN staff. He went on to be a medical doctor. You know, I mean...
Edward, who's committing this genocide? Because all of this time, like, you're on the right path. You just don't understand that, like, it goes further than what you are, like, what you currently know. And that certain group that is committing that genocide is, goes back through history for quite a long time and has been doing this, for a good while. And, eventually you'll realize that your entire life, like I said, is a lie. And dude, I was literally going to call him Trent 43, but I didn't think most people here would get it. Yeah. And then all these people are basically from that group. And then you'll see how it's been orchestrated into every aspect of your life. And that everything is fake and gay.
This is not, of course, he got out as soon as he could.
Well, you know, people who love this country and love its history, I mean, are just completely confused.
Yeah.
From cab drivers to bartenders. I mean, nobody can figure out what's going on. Why is it everything goes the wrong direction?
You know what I say? When I started this, it was like maybe a 2,000-piece puzzle. I know enough. It's like a puzzle for a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old with 6 pieces. It's so easy.
Edward, she's talking about you. You only have 6 pieces of the puzzle, and she's trying to help you.
To see. And everybody who talks to me sees it the same way.
And the 2.5-year-old child had 10 shallow ice pick wounds in her chest in the form of an S. I asked Helena, I said, Helena, what did that S stand for? And she said, Satanism. So
Yeah,
this was a shock to me.
the Jew.
The McDonald case, this man's in jail. I couldn't understand it. I went on national television, a number of national TV shows. I debated Freddie Kassab, the father-in-law, on CNN. And also a psychiatrist was there. and I talked about this satanic aspect, and I had people calling me from all over the country, telling me the same basic story, from the East Coast to West Coast, North and South. And I had people that, what you'd call them multi-generation Satanists. That's somebody who was born into it, mother, father, grandfather, grandmother are involved in Satanism. And adult survivors, that's somebody that gets out, usually has to go into hiding to survive. I had these people calling from all over the country telling me about the ceremonies and about the extent of the satanic movement in this country today. So I started investigating it myself. I gave a number of lectures on it. I had some national exposure, of course. And the bottom line is it's very easily explained, and it fits into a pattern. And this goes back some 200 years. I'm going to use as a textbook tonight.
I just said it was the Jews. They run a cabal for thousands of years, get kicked out of 109 countries. I told you previously, they run the Bank of England when Lord Rothschild took them over after destroying France and ruining the economy by shorting it. And then they use the UN, EU, and NATO, and then they go and hold countries that want to develop hostage by granting them money through the IMF, and they have to basically fall and be prey to the Jews. And basically, if they don't go by their rules and their operations and let them flood the country, yeah, we're all going to jail right now with the clergy plan and basically ruin your country with human biological weapons that sow discord through what's called multiculturalism. And they control all the media. They control the narrative. They buy out all your politicians. And there's not really an ethnicity to it. It's just basically an ancient form of Scientology. And, I mean, I feel like that's a good route to start on.
Pawns in the Game. It's a book that was written by William Guy Carr. He's a retired commander in the Canadian Naval Force. And he had heard about the conspiracy and wanted to delve into it himself. He wrote a very compact book about what's going on with the Illuminati and how this fits into modern day plans, what's going on in the world today. So we're going to use that as a textbook for the first 2 hours, and the second 2 hours we'll have some...
Call them out on slaughtering innocent children in Gaza. You feel like that's just like, that's like the least of their crimes. That's just like the most recent thing, dude. Like what's going on in Israel right now to these kids in Gaza. Like, you think that's the tip of the spear, dude. You have no idea how awful it gets. It's so much worse than just bombing innocent children. It's complete manipulation of every single thing.
Case studies.
I'm sort of an interpreter. I kind of give a lot of the wives hope, and the guys too, who are already out and scared, and you know, and they say, hey, well, this little woman, she's a real feisty, you know what? And I don't know whether they're going to kill her, what they're going to do, and they say, aren't you afraid? And I say, yes. I mean, I've had death threats, and I mean, it's been hell. But truth and light and what these other women are going through, the hell they're going through, being put through hell because their husbands are cowards and bullies. I mean, people who dress up in black.
I think it goes through cycles, because if you remember in, I think it was World War II, they were, I might be confusing it, because I think also earlier times They were in control of the publishing, and then they were boycotting Germany and their publications. And really, it's just been a constant cycle through history of controlling the narrative. So each time there's a way to spread knowledge, whether you have some grand library or, you know, you have the advent of the printing press and people can start publishing papers. And then, you know, you had the internet in its heyday in 2006 when people were starting to wake up. You had WikiLeaks showing, you know, them destroying those people in the van, trying to load kids into the van, and then a helicopter comes and swoops down and destroys them all, and Obama goes and launches another war into Afghanistan, and then things kind of settled down, and then now everyone around the last 5 years have been waking up again because they overplayed their hand with the whole COVID thing, and the lockdowns has nothing to do with this disease. It's the way that the method of they went in handling it. And then also, you know, the Catholic Church has been involved in it. The Catholic Church went and worked with them to go and establish international credit systems through the Crusades. I mean, where do you want to go, dude? I mean, it's so much more than just the fucking, just the kids in Gaza. I mean, that's just the most recent thing.
Who hide behind trees, who shoot people from behind, who break into houses and steal their papers. This is in the Constitution. You don't break into someone's home. You don't steal their papers. You don't try to destroy the core that God has given them when they're born. Mothers have sons, and their sons are 18 years old, and they were telling them, join the Marine Corps to be a...
Well, if you want to be like semantics, the war in Afghanistan has been off and on, but technically it started with Jimmy Carter authorizing the CIA to go and authorize them to go in and fund Osama bin Laden. And that's when we were trying to get all the Chechens and the people in that area to go and form a Vietnam type battle or war for the Russians and keep them busy fighting kind of down in the south. So, I mean, like, you're trying to play this game where you think that I don't know things. You know.
Man? It's not a man. It's not a man who does this. It's a pervert. That's why they're not joining up anymore. That's why they're not signing up. They're having problems with retention because the mothers are finding out. McVeigh's mothers talked. Unabomber's mothers and brothers have talked, you know. Guys like Colonel Ron Ray is talking, who was Timothy, what's his the new boy who refused to wear the UN uniform?
Oh, Michael New.
Michael New?
Yeah.
These are the heroes. Michael New is the MacArthur. Randy Hebert is the future Patton. These are the leaders. These are the Americans, and there are a lot of them. There are hundreds of thousands of them. And just like in the days of Jesus Christ, these modern day Sadducees and Pharisees are saying,
yes, he was. We went and funded his group. That's when they started to split off, and that's how most of this started, is we were trying to create a Vietnam for the Russians as a revenge for our Vietnam. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, kid.
oh, we're going to kill Jesus. We're going to get rid of MacArthur. We're going to get rid of Patton. We're going to get rid of new. We're going to get rid of Colonel Sabo, murdered him. We're going to get rid of these guys. Hey, but everyone, this is physics, everyone, like Sue Griggs that's murdered, Sabo who's murdered, the wives who were murdered.
I mean, you can get into like the fucking, like he's saying, the semantics of like so-and-so's group split off into this group, but that's when we started funding them, and that eventually ended up into being led by Osama after he was radicalized by that group. I mean, like you're playing stupid games, and I wouldn't expect anything more from somebody who thinks that the BBC is a right-wing like publication.
Ron Brown. There are 100 people who spring up and say, now you got me to worry about. This is why these guys have got little places hidden all over the place. They're training all the guys to just say, oh, well, the American citizens are bad. But the guys they're training are also gonna wake up to what's going on. It's Caspar Weinberger. It's Henry Kissinger. I mean, Nicholas Walt Whitman Rostow. Eugene Debs Rostow. What's going on here? These guys aren't even born in America. What's happening here? They're training mercenaries now to run, flip around, we'll kill on an order. Not killing because people are breaking into our homes, not killing because they're bad, but just we want to control this country. That's what George told me. It's political. The military, the Marine Corps is a political arm of a group that wants to run everything, control the drugs, sell the weapons, keep the weapons flow going, and this isn't what guys are going to sign up to do. Their heart's not in it. They're not going to even do it for the money. They'd rather die than have hit squads come after them, collection groups from...
Yeah, we don't even have a confirmation that Osama bin Laden's even dead. No one witnessed his funeral. They supposedly just decided, like Hitler, that they were just going to dispose of the body and all the evidence, and very suspicious circumstances. But it's 2:30 in the morning. We've been going for quite a while, so I appreciate everyone being here. This is one of the more successful streams we've done in the past week or two. It's getting a little bit more movement. If you liked it, please like the stream. If you're new, subscribe. You can tell me how stupid I am of a Yankee and all that stuff on the next stream. Yeah, I'm East Coast. So we'll continue going through this, and appreciate you guys being here. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. I mean, look at what he's working with here. This is how he gets his news. You guys be nice to him. He does forgive him, for he does not know. But yeah, tomorrow me and Jared will be recording something new. Very, very excited for this. He's been doing a lot of research. He has excellent calls into Danny Polishuk's show, Low Value Male. Very knowledgeable. So he'll be talking, basically the subject matter is Jews, how he came to Christianity. And it's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to it. So you guys, again, have a good night. And appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for being good boys. I'm sure the boys in Morocco will be jealous.